Will the Recess Housing and Land Use Committee meeting of August 30th, 2023 reconvene and come to order? It is now 9:01 a.m. on September 13th, 2023. I am Tasha Kama. I'm the chair of the Housing and Land Use Committee. This online meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Sunshine Law. As a reminder, Shirley, do you have a greeting for us today?
Yes, it's good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Chair.
Thank you.
Any questions before we continue, members? Committee voting members, aloha kakahiaka to all of you. And I'd like to say good morning to Tom Cook.
Aloha, good morning, Chair.
Good morning, and aloha kakahiaka, and good morning to you, Chair Lee.
Good morning, aloha kako.
I expect our Council Vice Chair Yukile Sugimura to come in later. She has a whole lot of important meetings that she's at today. And I want to greet aloha kakahiaka and good morning to Councilmember Gabe Johnson.
Aloha, Chair, council members, community members. There's no testifiers at the Lanai District Office, and I'm here and ready to work. Mahalo.
Thank you. Also, I saw Councilmember Kiani Rollins Fernandez, and I'm sure she's praying for all of us downstairs. So I'm grateful that she's here, but she'll check in with us later. We'd like to say aloha kakahiaka and good morning to Councilmember Shane Sinensi.
Hey, aloha and good morning, Chair, and staff has indicated no testifiers at the Hana District Office.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also want to say good morning to our Councilmember Nohe U'u Hodgins. Aloha kakahiaka.
Good morning, Chair. Aloha, everyone.
And I haven't heard anything from Councilmember Paulton. Has anyone? Oh, good morning. When did you show up? Just like magic. Good morning and aloha kakahiaka to you, Councilmember Paulton.
Oh, good morning, aloha kakayaka. I just was at the vigil downstairs with the people.
Thank you. So we have with us from the Department of Corporation Counsel, Christina Toshikio, and hopefully she's on the call this morning. We have with us from the Department of Housing and Human Concerns, Director Lori Suhako, and hopefully she'll be joining us somewhere at some time, and her Deputy Director, Salmalu Mata'apa. We also have with us our committee staff this morning, Legislative Analyst Ana Lillis. Aloha, good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members.
We also have with us Paige Greco, our other Legislative Analyst. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members.
We have out on vacation right now our Committee Secretary, Stacey Benere, but today we have with us Ms. Jocelyn Moniz. Aloha and good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members.
And we have with us our Legislative Attorney, Mr. Remy Mitchell. Good morning and aloha.
Good morning, Chair and members.
So members and those in attendance, this is a reconvened meeting from August 30th. We'll have two items for discussion on the agenda today. We have HLU-3 Parent 5, State Emergency Proclamation Relating to Housing, and HLU-3 Parent 6, State Housing Efforts in Maui County. So when we recessed the meeting on August 30th, we're in the process of receiving testimony. And in accordance with the Sunshine Law, we'll continue receiving public testimony on both agenda items. After public testimony, time permitting, I will take up a discussion on the items together due to their similar subject matters. If we are unable to conclude public testimony within the allotted time, we have a hard out at 4:30 this afternoon, and I will again recess this meeting to September 26th at 9 a.m. if need be. Before I continue, I just want to welcome and say aloha kakahiaka and good morning to Member Kiani Rollins Fernandez.
Aloha kakahiaka, Chair, e kalamai for my tardiness.
You're always excused when you're at a pule. Thank you.
Mahalo.
So members, I have been informed that we will not have a representative from the governor's office due to the unexpected resignation of Nani Maderas. In that light, when we get to discussion, I would like to have you state any questions you may have for the governor regarding his emergency proclamation on housing, and I will ask our committee staff to compile and transmit those questions to the governor. Decorum shall be maintained at all times, and any person. At our prior meeting on this agenda item, oral testimony was limited to 2 minutes per item without objections. Staff will be monitoring the time, and when you reach the 2-minute mark, you will hear an audible noise. If you are still testifying when the notice sounds, Please complete your testimony as quickly as possible. If you are testifying on both items, you'll be allowed to testify on the second item for another 2 minutes by our staff. Unless you want, please also indicate the agenda item or items you are testifying on. You may indicate staff has been monitoring people joining today's meeting by phone and by video, and we'll do our best to take each person up in an orderly fashion. So at
Aloha
this
Committee,
time-
Thomas Crowley testifying on both items, please. Obviously, it's hard to separate any of these things, state's efforts, county's efforts, housing, long-term housing, building new housing. These are all things that we have to take very seriously and have to do as quickly as possible. But the part of this that I'd like to share some mana'o on are, as was discussed yesterday, the 10,000 short-term rental, second home, timeshare units that are in West Maui that potentially could provide a lot of the housing that would be necessary. But I think that the county has to participate in that effort. And I sent everyone an email last week about this. We should recognize that the highest property tax rates are assessed to these property owners. And the cost for these property owners on average is $12,800 a year in property taxes. So if this council could pass an emergency resolution to waive the property taxes for all of the folks who are willing to turn their units into emergency long-term housing for someone, that's reducing the rent by $1,000 a month. Okay, so we were looking yesterday for where's the money going to come from? Who's going to pay for these? Well, one of the places that some of the money can come from is the County of Maui by waiving these rents. Now, obviously, you're going to have to put together a program that's very clear that says, here's what you're going to have to commit to get this waiver of the rents, a waiver of the property taxes. And what I would suggest is that you do the same thing that was done for the homes that were destroyed. The property taxes get waived for this tax year, and for the first payment that these guys made, you give them their money back for this year. Now, for next year, if the person is going to continue to participate, then they would qualify, I guess, for the long-term rental exemption that we have. Except again, it becomes difficult to make that happen because of the way our tax system works. They would need to apply for that before the end of this year. And how do they know if they're going to, be participating next year? So if you honestly, truly think that you can get 2,000 units roughly from the short-term rentals and second homes in West Maui, the county is going to have to put together a program that makes that attractive to these folks to do. Now, I do want you to understand why many of these units do sit empty for a good period of the year. For most of these folks, these units are their second homes. And for most of these folks, they use them during the winter season. So they're coming to use their units for 3 months or 6 months during the winter season. And then during the rest of the year, they may or may not be trying to rent them out as short-term rentals. But for that person to say, I'm going to give up using my unit and making my trip to my annual trip to Maui for the winter season and house someone in my unit, then they need some type of incentive. And I think an incentive would be, oh, I'm going to get a check back from the county for $13,000. I'll go to Europe this year, for my vacation instead of coming to Hawaii. So that's why I think that we need to be creative and we need to take steps like this. And this is one step that this county council can take. And it's kind of one of the only things that you can do that's in your power to help this situation.
I just wanted to clarify. I didn't hear you say that there would be a rent assist. We've seen 1 bedrooms going for $4,000, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms going for $7,000. And I just wanted to clarify, was it that you were saying that people would have to pay rent on these on top of the property tax waiver? And if so, like following possibly HUD guidelines as to what the rent can be before they receive that type of benefit? Because if they're gonna charge like $7,000 a month, I don't see
Yeah.
the point a little bit.
Okay, so I agree with you that I don't think that it's practical for the county or for FEMA or for whomever, Red Cross, to be paying $7,000 for a 2-bedroom unit. But recognize that $7,000, probably 4,000 of it is actual costs, hard costs that the owner has to pay. So this is why the owner can't rent that 2-bedroom unit for whatever HUD guidelines, $2,000 a month, something like that. Okay. So there has to be a participation on all sides to make this work. I agree with you that you can't give them their cake and eat it too. You can't say, I'm going to give you the full amount of expenses that you would have to hold on to your unit and also waive your property taxes for you. But if the idea is that we do get down to roughly the HUD guidelines, which I think are around $2,000 for a 2-bedroom unit, the only way to do that is to find ways to supplement the rent. And one way, and maybe the only way that this county has to participate in that would be the waiver of these property taxes. That's my suggestion.
Aloha mai kākou. Hi. My name is Dennis Kai Hui. I'm from Kenai. I'm a la'au lapa'au. Medicinal healer. Okay. My message, okay, I don't know what you mean by title or whatever I got. Okay, my message is e hui o lapa'au. E hui o lapa'au. We gather here as healers. E hui ai lapa'au. We gathered here for healing. These are my message. Ua mau ke ia o ka aina I ka pono. The title, the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. But we the people, we are the life of the land. We gathered here together to do what is right. And that's ho'oponopono ai ha'ola lapa'au. Making things right again and deep breath of healing. The Olelo wordings hangs in the front entrance of our state capitol in Honolulu. The Olelo wordings is what I translated into Kahiko Lapa'au, ancient healing. And into what you see on my draft. I'm not sure if you have a draft, but it's good. Look at it. Because I designed it to deal with the housing and homelessness, but then the Lahaina wildfire became an issue. Now we need to need answers and solutions. So I offer you this mana'o, these thoughts, every time when you make a decision or you discussing, think about it, okay? Every one of you council members has a voice for the people, and you are the people's voice. The draft, this was designed to deal with the homelessness and the housing, okay? But my message is, e hui o lapa'au, e hui ai lapa'au, okay? So my closing testament, yeah. You there for the people. And every council member here, I can only say aloha.
To be followed by Madeline Monaco.
I am a full-time resident on Maui's west side, and I wanted to just offer some thoughts on the housing situation as well. I agree with the first testifier that perhaps we could waive the property tax for those people. I also think, I think back to when we were in the state of COVID a few years ago, and I seem to remember that there was a ban put on Airbnb rentals to tourists and a fine imposed if anybody was caught renting to someone who was not already on the island. And I'm not saying that we should propose a ban, but perhaps there's something we can do to incentivize these Airbnb and VRBO owners to rent in a controlled fashion, a rent-controlled fashion, to almost be forced to rent. I don't know how we do this, but almost be forced to rent to people who have been displaced by the fires. I am a full-time resident. However, I have given my unit, my condo, to a family right now because I'm a single person. I can sleep anywhere, but these families need a place to stay. So I'm not even charging rent to people. I'm just letting them stay in my place for as long as they need to stay, but they will seek longer-term housing at some point. Maybe another suggestion is to give credit for a charitable donation of these units to people. I'm not looking for that for myself, but perhaps that would be an incentive for some other people to donate their units to some families. I feel also that tourists should be staying in the hotels because the hotels are providing jobs for displaced families and people who have lost jobs. So why can't we impose something where the tourists have to stay in the hotels and provide, income for some of our displaced residents?
Anyways, it's so nice to see many of you. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't. My name is Tyson Giuseppe Saucier. 21 years ago, just happened to be today, it was a Friday the 13th in the year 2002. I came here with a one-way ticket on a journey I never expected would end up where we've been for the last month. I've lost a lot of sleep over it, had plenty of tears. And when I don't get a lot of sleep, I tend to tear up and swear more easily. So I won't swear today, though. I swear to you, I won't swear. When it comes to housing, I've been houseless for the past 8 months since St. Valentine's Day. Anyways, I was about 2 paychecks out from having enough funds to pay for a room and house, which is like $1,500. So let's say I had $2,500 to plunk down and hope that I had a good landlord, because if you don't over here, who are you gonna call, the devil? Anyways, now the housing market drought is on the scale of hundreds of times of the magnitude that I was looking at. Runaway prices, the prices were already running away without an additional 10,000 people that need a new style of roof over their head. In addition to many of the implementations that are good in these bills that I haven't had the time to look at, but we need a true moratorium on rent prices and real enforcement on the written landlord laws of the state, county, and place that we call home. Additionally, I do believe that a public land trust should be started that benefits landowners that can't afford to stay here anymore or rebuild, that they can put into, somebody told me this idea earlier today, this morning, that benefits the landowners and the Malahini alike. My heart goes out to all the people that live, breathe, and love my home, Maui. Malamapono, Nui Loa, Aloha. I know that all you guys, I look at all you, Tasha, the rest of you, and I know that you've been as sleepless as I have over the past few months. And it's not easy, but we're on Maui. We know Kauai for a reason. We protect our own. We call the untruthful, and we will yield to nothing but truth. I've said enough and more than enough.
Tyson. Did you leave your contact information with our staff?
Yeah.
Okay, so have your phone?
I'm not really good with email. I forget the passcode, so.
Okay, but we do have your phone?
Yeah.
Okay,
Feel free to call
thank
me.
you. Okay, Eva. Thank you so
Aloha,
much.
I'm Ann Williams, and I'm here to testify on HLU-3, I believe. I'm a resident, I was a resident of Lahaina Luna Road. And this is relating to the Emergency Housing Proclamation. I just want to really stress the idea that this proclamation needs to be written to show that this is going to be for the local community and not anybody else. I think that we need to really enforce rules to keep it local, particularly the Lahaina residents. First and foremost, they need to get back into their own home. That's probably even more of a priority right now. A great idea about giving incentives to the Airbnb owners. That's actually where I'm staying right now, is an Airbnb who offered it. And I think if we approach those Airbnb owners, a lot of them just want to give. I mean, I don't think they even care about tax incentives, but tax incentives are great. They want to give right now. They love Maui, and that's how I got my place immediately through a friend of a friend. And they just want to help us. And so I think if we just approach them, write letters, do whatever it takes to get in touch with them and seeing who's just going to open up their doors, I think we're going to get a good response there to get people. And then we can use the hotels for tourists, because I know we do need them. I don't know why they'd want to come to Lahaina right now, but they're going to come. And as far as the housing development, we have to get a guarantee in writing showing that the governor's plans is for the Lahaina local residents, and not on land that's, taken away from our Lahaina people who have just gone through devastation, and now they have to worry about, they're not even going to be able to rebuild, possibly, is the idea. Ridiculous. I mean, they are going through so much right now. I'm one of them. It's like, what are we going to plan with the contractors, knowing that it might not even go through? I'm sorry, but it's important. And if it is not going to be guaranteed in writing, there's going to be a problem, not only in Maui, it's going to be the whole state, it's going to be the country, and internationally. There's going to be a lot of unhappy and people that are going to fight for their land here. I can guarantee that. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Katie Austin. I'm testifying on both agenda items. My home was not affected, but I'm here speaking with the hundreds of families who I know were. I do want to stress that we need solutions on how to safeguard properties and homes from these luxury developers and out-of-state speculators. It does need to be written by the governor's office that, like she said, we won't be giving away these lands to anybody that wasn't on them to begin with. I urge the council to take a look at forming a land trust so that people that are in a need position to sell now can, and that can be held in that land trust until they're ready to come back, or they can sell it locally and protect it so that down the road, if they don't want to come back, that land can still stay here for families that deserve it and belong on it. One way that the council can help support that is through matching funds and helping establish this land trust. I also urge the council to exert pressure on the administration to expedite the housing projects that are already currently approved, especially in Lahaina, and move forward with these buildings. I urge you to protect the lands in Lahaina for the people of Lahaina. I also want you to consider that the lands that need to be cleared first are the homelands. I know that it's been discussed where everything is going to be cleared first, but I think that actual homeowners' lands should be cleared first. Front Street can wait, businesses can wait. It needs to go through our homelands first. And then also urge you guys to push the head of HUD to pause mortgage payments as well. I want to make it clear from personal experience an example of keeping what Lahaina is about. I've worked at Chemo's on Front Street for over 11 years, and when we had our meeting after the fire, our GM stood in front of us all and he said, "The building doesn't matter. I don't care about the building. What made Chemo's is everybody in this room. It's these faces, it's our ohana. That's what made Chemo's amazing. And what makes Lahaina amazing is everybody in this room and everybody in Lahaina, and it's got to stay that way, or it'll never be the same. Mahalo.
My name is Shanti Vasquez. I'm a junior. I'm a junior at Lahaina High School. I was born and raised in Lahaina. I came here to speak I came here to share my mind on the emergency proclamation. I don't think this proclamation suits Lahaina. If it's put into effect, it allows the government to bypass requirements to build correct. But build what? A smart city? If that is so, Lahaina won't be Lahaina anymore. Simply because smart cities are not what Lahaina is. Lahaina is known for its authenticity simply because of its quaintness. Its rustic appearance and historical value is what makes it charming and unique to the world. Tourists come because of this. This is Lahaina I know and love. Lahaina is not skyscrapers, smart buildings, smart cars, and smart meters. Instead of a smart city, I'd like to see a smarter use of our taxes. How about fixing our potholes, more care of our parks and beaches, and landscapings to improve the natural beauty of my hometown? I'd also like to see the water restored back to the state where it will help replenish our aina. Another concern I have is how do we make certain we aren't displaced by malahini? We need to know if these solutions help protect our possessions and our homes from big developers and outside opportunists. Nevertheless, like generations before me, I would also like to raise my future family here in Lahaina. Like my ancestors, I want my ohana to experience the local culture, heritage, simple life, family gatherings, and a community where everybody knows one another. I don't know what Lahaina will be rebuilt to, but I do know if our people is allowed to say in the rebuilding process, it will keep its authenticity and it will be rebuilt better than before.
My name is Ma'an Sabino, and I'm a Lahaina resident. I have a family that my youngest one was not born, but definitely raised in Lahaina. And I'm here to testify on behalf of HLU-3. I am one of many Lahaina people who, it's hard to, follow her because she feels it. Lahaina is all about the people, and everybody here knows it. And when we have friends and family come visitors to Lahaina, it's because of the authenticity. That word, I love the way you use that word, the authenticity of Lahaina, and we have to keep it. There are two things that I want to share with the group. Number one, I will rebuild on my land in Lahaina, and I will raise my children in Lahaina, guaranteed. My older child is a high schooler, and she loves taking that golf cart illegally down Front Street, like all Lahaina high schoolers do. She is so lucky, I told her, she's so lucky that she had that ability. And I want to make sure that my 9-year-old has that when Lahaina is rebuilt again. I want to get back my down by the fire golf cart. I want an upgrade now, I told my husband. So in order to do so, in order to rebuild, I have a personal vested interest, and that is the expedited process for permitting for all of us who are ready to rebuild at whatever cost it will take. I understand that We would encourage pre-approved housing templates that be made available to all families, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. I was at a community meeting with Dan Palakiko and his family, and it was fantastic. These are the real solutions to our problems here, and they're pretty quick. We have the time, we don't really, because our families are now going to be displaced. So timing is of the essence. I encourage us to continue the thought process of this expedited permitting process and the idea of the template so that our families can start planning, because by the time we're ready, it's going to be a year. Second, public trust. I'm just going to mention it. People have talked about it. Keep Lahaina lands in Lahaina hands. And when we do this, we'll get it to a better place. But we have to keep our people here. That's the essence of Lahaina. Those who are staying in the hotels are going to be displaced. Sorry if I misspoke.
And did you have a date for that you're aware of?
My assumption would be it would be between October 8th and the 15th.
I don't think.
My name is Mary Beth Chin, and I'm a West Maui resident. I've raised my children in West Maui. Thank you for letting me speak today. I also wanted to speak about the expedited permitting home construction projects for Lahaina. There has been some discussion about a satellite office for West Maui permitting specifically, and I just wanted to suggest that that office be actually in West Maui, staffed by people from West Maui. I think one of the best ways for us to heal is to make home rebuilding as streamlined and as quick as possible, not advocating taking shortcuts and making construction shoddy or less than, but I would like to suggest that West Maui permitting office be in West Maui and staffed by West Maui residents.
Good morning. My name is Jermaine Bellino, and I am testifying on both items. I wouldn't be so compelled to testify under the circumstances. And before, I begin, I'd like to preface it by acknowledging God and acknowledging the losses of all the lives in Lahaina. I don't live in Lahaina anymore, but I have Ohana in Lahaina. I have a lot of topics I'd like to cover, actually, in regards to this, and I hope that I can. The first topic I'd like to discuss is DHHL. There's a significant Native Hawaiian portion of population in West Maui, and I know that you may not have, but in future discussions, I can offer some thoughts in regards to that and transitional housing. I know they have a proposal for an additional phase to Lake Ali'i on 51 acres. There's another portion, they have over 1,000 acres there. Perhaps they can lend a portion of that land to transitional housing, work directly with the Native Hawaiians there, make them a preference for the targeted projected project. Do targeted research. There's lists now of all the people out in Lahaina. I'm sure that the Native Hawaiians will sign on to these projects to work with them. Do a longer term transition from transitional housing to placement. That's one thing. The other is rent control and tenant protections. That's important. This is an opportunity for us to learn from history and not repeat mistakes done in the past. There's a lot to unpack over here, but the voices of the people have been speaking loud and clear, and I think that one of the things and the best way that this body could help them is to be supportive, get creative, think of different ways in order to support them. I support public-private partnerships in regards to different entities seeking funding, opening it up to not just nonprofits, but for-profit organizations to be able to get those funds to the people right away. There's another idea that I thought of. The community has been speaking on a couple items about the land trust, which I think is probably one of the only mechanisms right now that can help effectuate that idea that they want to keep there. But please, please, please keep the Native Hawaiians in mind for future. I know everyone is trying to figure out short, mid, long-term solutions in regards to the Ohanas in Lahaina, but there's so much history. The Hawaiians can offer so much in regards to how we relate to Aina, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to each other, and this is our opportunity to change the course for future generations. Real estate. I've been in real estate over 20-something years.
I just want to speak to one of the ideas that you mentioned about the land trusts.
Yes.
I just got off the phone with Fannie Mae this morning at 8 o'clock this morning, and we're looking into models. I know Councilmember Paulton here has also spoken on land trusts, so we are working on it. I just want to let you know, because I'm sure other testifiers might be speaking on land trust models, and letting you know that we're working on it. Thank you.
I want to testify for the housing issue. To be honest, so my name is Mitch Kepa. To be honest, I just found out about the session this morning, and so I didn't really do any much research or homework about the issues and the specifics. But I said, well, it's time for me to just come in and participate. Yeah, I didn't want to just be an observer. So I showed up and trying to figure this out, but I do have some experience. I've been living on Maui over 42 years. I got a place in Hawaiian Homelands. The night of the fire, I was concerned about my son who lives with me and in Kula. So that was a pretty scary thought. And also part-time, I live in North Kihei, and we had to be evacuated. So that whole thing is pretty fresh in the mind and the people of Lahaina. So I just want to extend my aloha right now. I want to start off with that. I ask God to be with us this morning in our hearts and our thoughts as we proceed. So like I said, I didn't do much homework, but what means I'm here to represent my son, my family, my neighbors, my loved ones, and my community. I care about them. And I just wanted to have a voice today. And so my knowledge base is going to start today. First time testifying. I'm here. I want to show up and see how I can help. So I'm learning about the issues right away. One of the first things, I love what people said earlier. I learned from that. But I like the idea of the expedited projects we got in hand. I just want to make sure that these projects do what they say they're going to do with balance between the developers and the people that need this place. Because when I'm outside, when I go to the bank, when I go get my medications at the pharmacy, I see people and I talk to people and they tell me their stories and incredible stories about the humans. We got great humans out there. You guys are great humans. I just want to say, I'm going to trust your ability, your minds. You guys, we got great minds here. And that's what I'm going to focus on, is that I'm going to trust you guys with all your heart and spirit and God in your heart and aloha. We can do this. The world is watching. We are watching. I'm watching. But I'm not going to criticize. I'm going to help when I can. So I ask that you guys give your best, which I know you will. And I just cheer you guys on. I'd love to help anywhere I can. I will learn more about the specifics and see if I can contribute more to that. I've been a long-time musician, and now I'm semi-retired. It's wonderful, but I too can help. And I was in social work. I was doing case management. I was working with severe mental illness. And so that's on top population. So before the fire, it's tough out there. It's rough. I'm so glad I can go home and sleep and continue. But wherever I'm at, whether I go to the bars or restaurants, I see people and I can see. So I help when I can. I just want to, like I said, just sound off for my family that I want a future for them, and I'm going to trust that this body will do you guys best. I know, I just want to encourage you guys, inspire you guys to do your best.
Thank you, Mr. Kepa. I just wanted to clarify the part where you had said that ensure that the developers do what they promised. One developer, the original agreement was 50% affordable and 50% market rate, but in light of the disaster, he was willing to make it 100% affordable, but there is a cost because the market rate was supposed to offset the affordable. And I just was wondering if that was the kind of adjustments in the original contracts that you would support.
Oh yeah, that's great actually. You know, so I just want to make sure that it's fair for both parties, right? Developers, sure, but we know how developers can be. I mean, I don't want to just speculate, but that sounds really good. I want to make sure that there's balance, and the people that really need, our Lahaina people, really need get what we can, the best that we can give them, and the opportunity is now. Timing is good, and I trust that you guys going, business, you know, the business people got to conduct business. Yes, for sure. And they have a right to. But I just want to make sure and sound off for the people that won't come up and speak for themselves.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Thomas Oliver. I'm from the island of Kauai. I was privileged to move to Lahaina a little over a year ago. Forgive my emotionalness. Of course, lost words, but ultimately, I'm here to represent everyone who lost their lives, their family members, vehicles, homes, and everything else. Unbelievable catastrophe just a month ago, and here we are talking about development and all that moving forward, which, okay. I guess what I'm here to remind everyone and all of you, the members, is the incredible opportunity that's in front of you right now to take care of the people of Lahaina. The town, the island, the state of Hawaii, the world is watching, and this is the time to start with just the people, taking care of the community of Lahaina. It's such an incredible opportunity that you all have. It's one that you're here for a reason in this place, and it's your time to shine. Take care of the people of Lahaina.
My name is Darla Palmer Ellingson. I'm testifying on the second item. I wanted to bring your awareness to housing-related projects that the County of Maui paid for but never utilized that would be helpful to resolving fire-related and other lack of housing issues that this committee might want to investigate further. Some council members from the last administration may remember discussing and seeing presentations brought to you by the Climate Action Advisory Committee to build a manufacturing facility on an island to build net zero energy modular homes at the workforce affordable price range. The manufacturing facility would also be a net zero energy minimal waste facility, create over 250 ongoing jobs, support the existing construction industry, and provide training for the construction industry. The council voted and mayor signed off on funding for a position to do a request for interest on the project. There were 3 companies interested. The position was hired, but the person did not work on the project. After the fire, one of the largest companies reached out and said with the basics put in place, such a facility could be up and running in a year. Meanwhile, homes could be shipped from their mainland facility in California. The council also paid for work from several contractors under the Climate Action Resiliency Plan. This included a countywide vulnerability assessment, a resilient housing guide, and an ALICE heat map. And for reference, ALICE is asset limited, income constrained, employed families, and represents the increasing number of individuals and families on island who work but are unable to meet their basic needs, including food, childcare, housing, healthcare, and transportation, which becomes just exacerbated during an emergency like this. So I would encourage the county to reach out to other communities as well that are rebuilding after the fires. Some of my counterparts in sustainability have really some great experiences. There's legal executable ways to prevent gentrification of Lahaina through developer land grab and other problems. Other areas of information. Our community is unique. We need community input, collaboration, and information all along the way in the project. And we also need some good community information about what smart development and resilient housing really means. These things can still protect and embed the character and culture of Lahaina and the needs of residents while resolving resiliency issues due to climate change. And that's all I have. I just wanted to close by saying I have a property assessment background. I'm disturbed by companies and unsanctioned tiny home villages popping up that have safety, sanitation, and code issues. We don't want to re-traumatize our community, but rather put together real, affordable, long-term solutions that fit with the character and history of the Maui communities. Thank you.
I was wondering if you could clarify the legal executable ways to prevent land grabs that you indicated.
These other communities, I was speaking to people in Southern Oregon. There were 2 towns that were wiped out that about the same number of building loss as Lahaina. So, one way is through codes so that codes can't be changed. They stay like in resident housing, single family or apartment, or it can be changed to address resident needs. So basically you're trying to, protect residents. Another tool that they utilize was any of the funding resources available, federal, state, or county, to purchase properties instead of developers purchasing them, so that again, the character of the area, the residents are protected. You make sure you have enough resident housing, kapuna housing, workforce housing, but also, have greater control over maintaining the character of the area. And then also taking the opportunity to put in place things that will make the community more resilient, because with our changing climate, storms are getting worse, they're getting more frequent. So things like putting the utilities underground and the materials that are used and things like that, by learning from these examples from other areas, we can take some good lessons from that, including some things that communities have told me we wish we would have thought at the stage that you guys on Maui are in now. So, it's just ideas. Our area is unique, but take those ideas.
When you were saying about the tiny homes that are currently popping up all over the place, I haven't heard any, but have you heard any administration from the mayor or the governor giving guidelines of how they should be built? Or is that what you're alluding to should happen?
Admitting, but I have a history from a while ago as a property tax assessor. So, codes are in place for a reason. And there's been a couple of examples, and I passed along to one of the committee members. One, there's a company that's building sheds that in their promotion on Facebook is alluding to that it would be great for emergency housing right now. Well, they're not legal to live in, and I don't want to displace anyone. But, for safety, for sanitation, there's all kinds of reasons why that's just not a good idea. There's another area close to Lahaina where they're looking at, putting 200 tiny homes and trailers. And again, they have to be secured to the ground. And the trailer code, as far as I understand it right now on Maui, unless it's changed, the trailers have to be on wheels. So, if we get a hurricane come through here, those structures aren't secure. So there's just a lot of these things popping up that cause me red flags from, my background, and we just have to have a smart approach to it. There's both this interim housing need, which, according to people I've talked to that have gone through these devastating fires, we're looking at a 3-year period possibly before people can, get into a permanent home. So there's a 3-year period where we need, stable temporary housing. And then we still have the same problem as from before. We need affordable long-term housing. And so we're kind of working on both of those problems at the same time. So I'm sorry that was a long answer, but yeah, there's a lot of problems popping up, and we need some oversight on code enforcement.
Tim, did you get your question answered?
I think so. It's difficult to understand about with so much of the laws suspended with the various multiple emergency proclamations. At what point code enforcement comes back into play, and we don't want people to 2 years from now get evicted from the houses that they've been living in during an emergency. So it's difficult to understand that. But I think
the community in Southern Oregon said that the temporary housing from FEMA was good in the way that they bring it in and they take it out. So, that it meets standards, it fills the need, but it doesn't create this problem after the fact of all of these unpermitted structures that are created. So that's something.
The Southern Oregon town that you're talking about, is it Phoenix or Talent or both?
Yes, it's the combined area of Phoenix and Talent.
Kai Nishiki, testifying on behalf of the Maui Nui Resiliency Hui. And before I start my testimony, I just, kind of wanted to start with that it's very important, with all the talks of opening up West Maui to tourists on October the 8th, that there should be a number of benchmarks that our community feels comfortable with before that happens. And one of the most important things is, building your foundation. And for most folks, the foundation is a place to live and feeling that their children are educated in a safe place. So aloha, Chair Kama and members. I'm testifying on both items, and this is a very timely agenda, and I wanted to thank you, Chair Kama, for opening this space up for solutions and collaborative efforts. It's definitely going to take all of us working together to forge this path towards healing and sheltering our most vulnerable residents, thinking creatively to address our community's immediate housing needs, and acting boldly to invest in long-term housing plans. In the immediate days after the fires, our community jumped in to Malama, our West Maui Ohana in crisis. That week, Paul Chang of Maui Ocean View LP reached out in consultation with Maui Nui Resiliency Hui to express that he wanted to do whatever it takes to help our West Maui residents to have a safe place to live, and as quickly as possible. Less than 2 weeks after that, he and his team worked up a housing plan with increased density that maximizes rental units to help as many people as possible, converting the 3 phases of Pulelehua to a 100% affordable project and increasing the square footage of many of the units to accommodate 3 bedrooms for our families. Pulelehua was originally intended to be a 10-year build-out over 3 phases and is now proposed to construct over 800 units in approximately 30 months, with buildings being occupied as they are completed if the county will allow it. In addition to building 800-plus long-term housing units, Maui Ocean View LP is offering Pulehua's Phase 3 acreage immediately for approximately 200 temporary housing modules while awaiting approval from the appropriate government bodies to increase the project's density to beyond what was originally approved, for possibly an additional 210 multifamily units in Phase 3, or twice the amount that the county desires. With the county's funding and permitting assistance and proper vetting of the housing products, the Phase 3 area could be graded immediately, and approximately 200 temporary units and, possibly exploring solar and potable water can be placed on site until a community-approved permanent location is identified and prepared to house them. In total, the project will need to apply for $40 million plus over the next few years from the county to help fund infrastructure requirements and expedite development. This includes new plans to underground utilities for the safety of the entire project in West Maui. This breaks down to a subsidy of approximately $49,000 per unit for 808 units, $39,000 per unit for 1,018 units, if the county approves the additional 210 units, or $32,500 per unit for 1,200 units. A worthy county investment with great return on investment. If the county is supportive of this emergency housing plan, we will need your help to advocate at the state and federal level to receive federal tax credits and state LIHTC credits, as well as dedicated housing assistance payments, to provide 20-year housing vouchers to assist our Maui residents with subsidies for a large portion of their rent. The State Department of Education reached out to Pulelehua and is in contract to build a temporary school site on the Pulelehua project site, and most likely a permanent school site. So Pulelehua will help provide 2 of the greatest needs in West Maui right now: housing our people and educating our children in a safe environment. Maui Nui Resiliency Hui is prepared to work with this body to do whatever it takes to get as many roofs over our displaced West Maui residents' heads and as quickly as possible. We're here to ask you to do whatever you can to support our community. The county has it in their power and in their hands to do both, and we ask you to act with immediacy that is necessary. And Pulelehua has also submitted an application to GHHC for $12 million to start the funding and expediting the project's infrastructure needs. If approved, the infrastructure balance for the project will probably be near to $28 million, but this could be funded incrementally over the next 2 years using GET funds, which are estimated to generate approximately $80 million a year. So there are a lot of options. Nothing needs to be, you don't have to come up with everything at one time. It can be spaced over a number of budgets, but we're just asking to support this project and to act with urgency. And there are also a number of other projects that are ready, on Keawe Street. And, I think the most important thing is to keep projects in the pipeline that are fully entitled and within the West Maui Community Plan area that has been approved for housing, and not go outside of those areas. Mahalo.
So, Ms. Nishiki, can you stay, this is an all-day meeting, and, we're going to go through all of our testifiers. We'll probably have to go to lunch. Would you be willing to come back as a resource later on?
Yes, I could do that.
Okay, thank you. So members, if you could hold your questions until we reconvene for our discussion. Thank you.
Aloha kakayaka kako kabana o iyo gomes ko uinoa. I'm here to tell you guys that So I'm here to speak on the emergency proclamation, but I'm also here to speak about the governor speaking of opening tourism on October 8th. I also agree with benchmarks that Kyrie was speaking of. I believe there's things we need to do in order for it to be all right. You know, I've been boots to the ground since the last fire, the last Lahaina Strong fire. You know, I was there as a volunteer also, and I got to see like how the recovery process, you know, how you see through it, and it comes through rebuilding, you know, and it comes through like coming together as a community and healing with each other, and you know, really feeling for each other and coming back. And I don't believe right now where we're at. I don't believe we're even near that area. I've come across problems that are like just on different ranges of issues. Some people, you know, have less trouble that they're going through right now, and we got people who are going through immense trouble. I know people who've lost like someone that luckily, you know, I believe there was only 2 people that I knew personally that lost their lives. It still hurts, you know. I've been going through like Tourette's of crying and stuff like that. But I've also been an election official here. You know, I've been a supporter of candidates who run for office here and stuff like that. And all I can ask from you guys is to make good, wise decisions. You know what I mean? Ultimately, even though if you're not a representative of Lahaina, the decisions you make that can affect Lahaina, you know, you guys got to kind of, I believe right now there's civil unrest going on, or else a lot of us wouldn't be here right now. You know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure even the decisions that we make are pono ultimately. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know what the governor has got planned, how he's going to help us or anything like that. But I can reiterate, someone who's in charge of the Pu'uhonua or Honokowai, he said no government officials were really there to assist them there, you know. And ultimately, they need things like water supply and stuff like that. They have a needs list that needs to be met. You know, they're helping to feed and house some people at times in that place. You know, so ultimately they can't be here. They're just too busy trying to live an everyday life and getting through this tragedy. So, you know, I like to come over here and speak for them, you know, because they wish they can be here, but they cannot. This tragedy has united us as an island, ultimately, you know, to see like how we can help also, you know, and I believe it's divided us also. And we got to figure out one way to make decisions. I believe you guys have the power to do it by making decisions that'll help to provide and help to bring us together. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you what it is, you know, and I don't know the intricacies of it all, but, you know, I voted for a majority of you guys, you know, and, you know, all I like to say is I pray that you guys make pono choices and pono decisions and all that you guys need to do in the future. You know, this is for Lahaina. I'm a class of 98 graduate of Lahaina Luna High School. You know, there's people who've passed, you know, and I think of them like who've passed before this fire, you know. What would they have to say about this, you know? What would they want to do about this, you know? And I just pray that you guys, you know, I pray for you guys that you guys are blessed and you guys are safe and you guys help to be made wise decisions in all of this, and that's all I got to say.
Is Suzette Montalvo, to be followed by
Well, my concern is everything that you have, really, the proclamation and all these planning. And yes, you know, moving things forward. I'm Mala, Lahaina. I have family from Kahoma, Kanaha, all the way to Mala Wharf is where my family is, the Nisman, Haya, Kiahis. And majority of us, a handful of us, actually, I would say the whole town is family to me. And being wise, you know, and being very cautious with, you know, it's so sensitive. These are generations and generations of families that lost their homes, lost lives, family life, and rebuilding and take all of us into consideration, you know. Our homes, our dreams of our parents, you know, yeah, they're all in a plantation. Just be very cautious in opening up things. You know, kind of Shiki did bring up a great thing of, you know, bullet points. You know, it needs to be well thought of, and opening up things to having all these developers have all these rights to do things. I've been in a building industry. I've ran a construction business, and I know that, yeah, we want to get things done. We want to get people in, but we want to do it right. We want to do it pono. That's the best way I should say, for our people. We have all these step backs, these codes that, yeah, we want to push to it. But, I live down Mala French Street. You talk about codes. You tell us, putting it in perspective. Codes, yeah, we can't build a house so close here and there, boundaries and everything. I live on Front Street, Mala area. I've seen homes, plantation homes. You say SMA, those houses, our plantation homes get breaking down, and then it gets rebuilt to this immaculate home. And you say you want to give step backs, you want to give all these rules, but these people got money. They build their homes right on the beach. They have no boundaries when it comes to money. Well, as us local people suffer. Our homes are our dream. They as little as can be. These other fancy homes come up next to us. We get stripped away from paying more taxes, losing our homes, having our families moved away. I don't want that to happen. The person next to us, if their house is this immaculate thing, that's their dream. Let them pay for it. Our homes are these little plantation homes, 3, 4, maybe 2-bedroom homes. That's our dreams. That's our family dream. We own the land. The land is for our family for generations to come. Don't take this away from all of them. Yeah, our homes were built so close together. Let's get it better. Let's put more fire hydrants. I was there trying to rescue my niece both out of that subdivision. I couldn't drive my truck up there. I rode my bike to get into that subdivision. And to see you guys say about no water, the people say no water and things. I was so sad. If I had a car, I would have hit all those fire hydrants down just so the water would shoot and protect our families. So really, we need to be smart on how to rebuild and add more of these. And this fighting for water is what needs to be corrected. Because I have a kalo farm up in Kahoma Valley. And I can't believe say things about us that way. That is not right. That is not pono. I need this step forward for all our Kanaka Maoli, our families, our Filipino families, our Japanese, our Chinese, our interracial people, our families that is there in Lahaina. Please do this the pono way.
Aloha, my name is Amta Casey. I'm testifying on both HLU-3.5 and HLU-3.6. Mahalo for continuing the public testimony. I believe it is the purview and kuleana of the county, of this Housing and Land Use Committee, to expedite the permit process, to revise zoning and building codes, and further provide shortcuts for Lahaina people who lost their homes. So I want to know, what happened to the 2021 Maui County Comprehensive Affordable Housing Plan, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, made up of a team of 19 planners, engineers, policy analysts, attorneys, community development professionals, for this ambitious 5,000 homes to be built. And so because there's such a shortage of affordable housing. And then also that something happened that Ellie Cochran brought forth in the county council called the TIG, or Temporary Investigative Group, increasing housing inventory and securing funding for the services to assist in better enforcement of short-term rentals regulations. So, and then the last election, the amendment passed to have a separate Department of Housing and including a director and a Department of Human Concerns. An advisory department, a housing advisory board. I hope we can get staff on there that would advocate for the needs of people needing affordable housing. And regarding the Governor Green's emergency proclamation for housing, I feel there's a big loss of public trust in this, especially as it pertains to Lahaina after the fires. And so I believe that the county should take over this, and they can and should.
Call for Delilah Rodriguez.
Forgive me, this is also my first time making a public testimony. I am a 20-plus year resident of Lahaina. My family goes back generation, and we, as many others, have lost family members, homes, businesses. And when I think about the immediate resolution to our housing crisis that we have, I would just like to insist that the county step in and put rental caps on rentals that are available. My children were born and raised in Lahaina. They attend Princess Lahiana and Lahaina Intermediate School. Both schools are very tight communities. We talk to one another on a daily basis. And though my family, we are okay at the moment, my heart goes out to the family of my children's friends that are having to move from hotel room to hotel room. We have one friend in particular that has been constantly every day looking for long-term rental, and he's gone to quite a few. And the rent already is out of reach. And if I must say, myself as well as my friends, we both live in the low-income rental community in Lahaina. And already to get in the door there prior to the fire was like pulling teeth, not to say that we weren't trying to better our lives and one day potentially become property owners in Lahaina town, where we're from, where we love, where our kids are growing. But if there's any way that the county can step in and place rental caps, I know everybody got to make money, but when you see one 2-bedroom rental going for upwards of $3,000, coming from a family that already lived in low-income housing to begin with, and we were displaced by no choice of our own, requiring us to make 2.5 times the income, the rent, in order to stay in those particular, or even qualify for those units. In light of the disaster, we lost jobs. I lost my income. I'm a small business owner myself. So to sit there and have an open rental unit that's ready to go on the west side where my children want to go back home to, but we have to meet 2.5 to 3 times the rent, it's unreachable for us. So just keep that in mind moving forward. An immediate fix would be a rental cap, I feel. Make it to where those units that are open, that are available for rent, more easily accessible, not just for people in the low-income housing, but for everyone. We're talking about years of rebuilding, or years it's going to take to rebuild. But in those years, we all worked hard already to have what we had. You as the county, we voted you in. We know you guys are good people. I know some of you personally. You guys know, or if you guys want to know, really, great having the meetings here, having it put out. I found out through social media about today's meeting. But I would suggest also go to Lahaina, talk to the residents, bring it to them. Because for myself, I have the ability to be here today on duty, but there are many other residents there that don't have the same comfort that I have.
Aloha kako, my name is Jocelyn Costa. I'm testifying on both
But I'm also testifying as both an individual as well as a Hamoku representative for Hamoku Loa, and I also assist with Hamoku Poko. And before I forget through my testimony, I want to just let Council Member U'u know that driving over here, pay attention to your area. There is an unusual dryness right now, immediately, that would threaten your Ohana's house. And I don't see any bulldozer trying to make any kind of amends to that. So, maka'ala, I just took some pictures. It is not normal that you have the vegetation green along the road and just a foot in, you have only twigs. Something's not right. I wanted to try to equate what is happening in Lahaina, but it would be unfair of me because I go home, like a lot of us here. So the only way I can equate to the request of slow it down a bit, evaluate it a bit. My husband just had hip surgery, one side. Within a month, they wanted to do the second side. And he was like, no, 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 we wait 2 months. It's not unusual to do it within a 30-day span, but the pain. And so that's the only way I can equate what these people are going through. We just went through COVID. It took you guys 2 whole years and shut everything down. And it was watching processes of people getting sick and dying. This is an immediate death, and we want to fast forward everything now. And these affordable homes, although it's a good idea, where is the guarantee it will go to these people who need a place right now, who probably can't even afford it? Because although they may have insurance money, it's not available. Although they have insurance money, they want to go home. And keep in mind, the properties we're actually talking about that the people want to go home to is private property. It's not public. So why are we now all of a sudden with this big umbrella of this planning of Lahaina? It's the people. It really is. I come from Haiku, so why am I talking about Lahaina? Well, my father, who is in the audience today, he's 87 years old, he went too, he attended Lahaina Luna. He watched this island go to pot. Totally destructive. Can't understand why he cannot go to the ocean and catch what he wants to feed his family and his neighbors. And single families that he don't even know about, but he knows that they need food. Simple things. A lot of times when we rush into things, it's a good idea with bad results. And growing up here in Maui, I've only pictured things happen after. I can probably go driving around all of Maui, and a lot of the older residents will probably confirm this. A traffic light in Maui was never put in until somebody died in that intersection. A lot of the traffic lights you see in Maui, except for like the newer subdivisions coming up. And I just wanted to reiterate, because I hear a lot about people being afraid of where they're gonna sleep tonight. I've been occasionally volunteering at those hubs, and I hear the people, and they tell me, I have one gentleman that told me, I sleep in my van, I have a room, but I don't know if I'm gonna be in there tomorrow night. There's a lot of them that go, I don't know what's gonna happen in 2 weeks, because we're out in 2 weeks. And also I'd like somebody to take a look at our residents wear these bands when they go to the hotel. And some of them tell us, we don't have TV, we don't have availability to phones. They've taken out the coffee machines. They've taken out the microwave machines. What's going on? Discrimination. These bans are only for you to be able to enter that hotel. No more guests. And to have a state person yesterday come in and answer 0 questions for you guys as I watched. is appalling. Good ideas, bad results.
Yeah, just the one item. Hi, everyone. My name's Travis. It's a little awkward to be here. Obviously, I'm not originally from Maui or Lahaina. I've been here about 4 years, all on the west side, and you know, obviously my work is gone, my home is gone, all my possessions are gone. Staying in a Hyatt. Just to follow up with what she was saying, it is like we're lacking a little bit of human dignity there. It's kind of like being treated as a teenager at a summer camp, kind of funneled places, not having the amenities like all the South Side people are. They're treated like hotel guests because there are guests there. So we're lacking a little bit. That's not what I'm here to complain about or anything, but that's, you know, the experience that I'm having. What I'm worried about is, you know, I saw the fire. I was there the whole time, and basically now that we're in the hotel and there's a lack of understanding of what's going to happen in the near-term future. The long term, I know there's a lot to work out there, but I'm moving into an Airbnb on Friday for 3 weeks until the 9th. After the 9th, I have no idea what's going to happen. My income was I was a photographer, mostly with tourists, and you know, I understand that's not a priority to come back. I'm not like promoting for that. What I'm doing is I'm getting OSHA trained, I'm getting carpentry training so that I can be here in a way that is supportive and not just a body taking up housing. So I just want to ask that you please keep in mind that we do need like immediate short-term solutions, and if there are solutions that are out there, we need to have them translated to us and sunshine on the process, you know, as it's coming.
Hello everyone,
So,
I'm Jeffrey Lazo. I'm testifying on behalf of the housing crisis in Lahaina. I have a few key things that I kind of want to talk about, especially with the long-term property taxes, if they can put a pause on them until people's homes are rebuilt and finalized in the permitting process of them actually being able to live on the property. I want to touch up a little bit on the tiny home process. I know a lot of people are talking about it. If the county is willing to understand that it is a short-term and temporary housing process, you know, there's a lot of us local contractors out here that are willing to help build these tiny homes because, of course, hotels are trying to come back, and that's another subject. But work with us. Let us know the proper ways you guys want us to build these tiny homes. We can build footings if you guys are worried about winds, weather, whatever type of things it is. We can facilitate and come across of building these tiny homes properly with incinerating toilets, all these types of items so that we can be fully off the grid and go green where we don't have to have footings, because county records are off of square footage, and all of these structures are over the square footage of an actual housing. You guys they're required to have permitting by then. But if you guys understand that they are temporary housing and built properly to allow these things, I think it would take a major impact on the community itself. Yeah, there's so many things. The hotel crisis that everybody keeps talking about. You guys want to rebuild the community and allow tourism to come back so monies can fund through the community, but you guys are also putting us larger families of 4, 5, 6 people into smaller studios now and putting tourism into these 2, 3, 4 bedrooms with a family of 2 and making us lose our washing machines, our kitchens, where we can actually live as a family within these larger properties, you know, but you guys are pushing the tourism to stay in these larger ones, pushing us out and making us fend for food, for whatever the cause is, instead of letting them stay in these resorts, the smaller studios, and letting them spend the money within the community. If that's the type of outcome you guys are trying to push for, I recommend that they push all these families and tourism into these smaller units to force them to spend money in our community if that's the outcome you guys are looking for.
Is when all the testimonies are done and we come into the part where our members get to ask questions, have resource people to ask questions of if you're able to come back.
Yes.
My name is Autumn Ness, clarifying that I'm not here in my capacity as an aide to Member Johnson, but as a supporter of so many of my friends on the West Side. I'm not a West Side resident, but again, there's so many folks that can't be here because they're busy doing the things. So I feel compelled to just share a couple of things. Also, that this meeting should be held on the West Side. Meetings like this should all be held on the West Side, but they cannot because there are no facilities to host meetings like this, which illustrates the fact that we need to get some of our priorities straight, like quickly, you know, that we can't continue to have these conversations if the West Side cannot be involved. Next, housing is a basic human need, period. It's up there with food and water. And this must be the first and highest priority. If it's not met, folks cannot be expected to serve guests and create this Maui no Ka'oi experience for visitors coming over here. If shelter units are not available for fire victims because they have to be made available for visitors to come here, what does that say to the people of West Maui? Especially when you know that these same hotels denied access to their ballrooms and facilities to the people of West Maui while Lahaina was burning. People asked, can we come to your ballrooms? And hotels said no. The people of Lahaina are the labor that keeps these facilities running in normal times. And when shit hit the fan, these companies denied access to safe spaces for those folks. They're now providing shelter because of the Red Cross and FEMA funds. And now the conversation is on the table that these folks that are in these shelters, the hotels, may have to be evicted to make way for more guests. And it's beyond insulting. Who will clean the toilets for those guests? Who will wait on those guests in those hotels? West Side folks who just lost their homes and their communities? The same folks that don't have room in their own community for these kind of meetings? They're gonna go to a hotel with an empty ballroom and clean toilets for hotel guests? When you tell a community that there's no space to have community meetings like this, there's no homes for you, there's no place for your keiki to go to school, but kept plenty space to welcome visitors, and we expect you to show up and wait on them because you need the money. What does that say? You know? So our first priority needs to be keeping folks in these nice, well cared for facilities for as long as they need to. That's a housing solution. And then long term, like Mr. Lazo was saying, I've been in meetings. The community is moving. People are building tiny homes right now faster than anybody I've ever seen before. And we're in these, they have land, they have Ohana that has a lot of land that they're opening them up. They're saying, yeah, you know what? I will allow 20 units on my Ohana's land for as long as they need, because that's what we do. And you know, the biggest question in these meetings is, how are we gonna get the county to let us do this? We're gonna tell the county we have 50 homes that we just built with our own sweat equity, and we've got Uncle's land over here with 20 acres. He's gonna let Ohana live on there for as long as they can, but the county's gonna say no. These are the meetings I'm in every day. They're never gonna approve this. What, should we just go squat? We just go do it because the county's gonna say no. Like the community has answers, and their biggest problem is the county's gonna say no. So I'm begging of you folks, two things. One, do whatever you gotta do to get the governor to not open West Maui and to reserve units in West Maui for residents. And number two, we gotta do whatever we gotta do. When the community comes to us, says, hey, we can house 50 families because we just built these units and we get 20 acres, our answer should be yes. How do we help you? Normal time, we have all these rules we gotta follow, you know what? How do we make this happen?
So I'm actually glad you mentioned about the county because that's been kind of on my mind too lately. I emailed Managing Director, Public Works, Planning for clarification on the mayoral EP as a response to the disaster. So I requested clarification. I'm saying this on the record now, so hopefully I can get an answer soon because they haven't responded yet. What is the building permit process application if Chapter 16 and 19 is suspended? If a building permit is maybe not required, then to clarify, what is the process and how do we ensure that these structures that people are building are safe for habitation? What happens when the EP is rescinded to these structures, how do we ensure that if they want to build anything on the property going forward, that they're allowed to, considering right now they can? And for tax reasons, for, financial reasons, what does that look like for the people who want to build going forward? So thank you for asking those questions. And I too would like to know how this is going to work within our county, considering Chapter 19 and 16 are suspended. So,
so I'm concerned about you mentioning hotels who refuse people who are trying to find shelter. And could you tell us what hotels they were?
I don't want to misspeak on the record, so I can't say the name, but I was in the room the night of the fires when there were conversations about how to get folks that were stranded over there out of the west side. These are people that were had been pulled from the water, were burned, and there were conversations, high-level conversations, including with the EOC and the visitor industry. Can we put them in the ballrooms? And the answer was no. And that's why they were put on buses like cattle and made to come around the backside with all the other shit show of traffic. I was at War Memorial when those buses were unloading. People were in shock. Some of them were wet. And I was in the room when they said, can we send them to the ballrooms? And the answer was no.
So you're saying the EOC said that then?
I don't want to use names right now because it was so hectic that night. I just know that I was in conversations between the EOC and everybody else, and that was the answer coming over the radio.
Okay,
so
EOC.
I want to investigate that.
Thank you. Next testifier is Keolamau Tengan, to be followed by Nara.
Before beginning, I'd just like to take a moment to take a breath. Just anu for just a moment before moving forward. Join me if you like. This last month has been a complete blur. So many things have been happening. And in times of high uncertainty, action is often taken. I just want to chime in. My primary kuleana has been up country in Kula, so I haven't been as involved in other things outside of this area. But one thing that is for certain is that need not necessitate negligence. And with things moving so quickly, I want to just reiterate what Autumn had mentioned about conversations that are happening about the community without the involvement of the community. There are a lot of things around this emergency proclamation that are alarming. And my hope and intention right now is just to remind the county of the roles as advocates for our community to make sure that things do happen in a Pono way and with aloha. Because things as it is in terms of conversations right now within this committee meeting, things that have happened at the level of state largely seem to be without the involvement of the Lahaina and Westside communities, as well as, things here in Kula. And so as things continue to move forward, I really, really implore you to be that voice for our people. So many things have happened and so many things are continuing to happen. The people of the West Side, as well as those families affected and afflicted here in Kula, have their entire lives in one fell swoop ripped away. And as Autumn said, shelter is a basic human fundamental need. And as we look at considerations, both short and long term, this housing crisis is in dire straits now, but we were facing it well before the fires. And so to work together by looking to the community for what's already happening, the community responded instantly. And my desire is to see more collaborative efforts that are able to happen between the community, between the county, and for the county to be the advocates for our community now.
Oh, there you are. I want to invite you, and if you could call my cell, I would like to have you join the community in Kula as we're gathering to do some work for watershed and because of the wildfire. And I would love for you to join the community and our watershed projects that we're doing so that we don't have flooding in South Maui, as Member Cook is so sensitive about or very much aware. But please call me.
Again, my name is Nara Boone. I'm part of the Maui Tenants Association, and I'll be testifying on both items. We need rent control now. We've needed it for years, and this fire has just exacerbated the problem to no end. Before the fire, it took me over 9 months to find a rental that I could afford for myself, my family, and our pets. And now that has just expanded to immeasurable levels. Evictions are happening right now, some under false pretenses to get federal money. Prices were already high, but the entire community has taken a financial hit. We need better oversight of the rental business, because that's what it is. It's a business. We need an extension of the moratorium on evictions and rent increases for at least 18 months. People need stability instead of incremental extensions that only add more anxiety to an already tragic and traumatic situation. Over 70,000 people will be evicted soon from the hotels. For what? To make room for tourists? Does the governor actually expect displaced people to cater to visitors now? When their lives, homes, stability, and family members have been lost? Turning a blind eye to the suffering of our people to simply make a buck is unconscionable. Take care of our families. Get schooling and childcare on the West Side figured out before expecting people to go back to work. It'll take years to rebuild, and quality of life needs to be considered when rehoming people. With over 3,000 animals displaced in the fires, landlords need to be incentivized to allow pets in more dwellings. For many people, they're not only family, but much needed therapy. And putting people in pods, like in Kahului right now, on cement blocks, in the dirt of old cane fields, their kupuna bled, sweat, and suffered on, that financed the homes that are now burnt to the ground, it's a cruel joke. It's a cruel reality. And it's a cruel cycle that should not be. Our people deserve better. The world is watching. Aloha is more than just a marketing tool. This is an opportunity to finally put the people of these islands first.
So the people who are getting evicted right now or getting their rents written, could you email me and give me some details, because it is against the emergency proclamation. And the Attorney General office have people assigned to look into things that are against that in time of the emergency proclamation because of the wildfire. So if you would, and if you want, if you can look up my email or you can call me.
I can do that. The Maui Tenants Association is getting a lot of calls about evictions and rent increases.
So please have somebody connect with me. That's against the law, basically, for what's happening.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. That's why I asked for more oversight. Thank you.
Thank you, Nara. I know you're working with the Tenants Association.
Yes.
Just to let you know, I've been reaching out to the mayor to extend the moratorium. So trying to carry that message to them, to the governor, to extend the moratorium on the eviction rental increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Aloha. My name is Wesley Furumoto. I'm here as a long-term resident of Maui. And I'm here to testify on the two resolutions. A lot of people today, as they rightly should, are concerned about the immediate effects of what happened to this island over the last month. And there's been some good testimony, and there has been some good suggestions and requests, demands made on the County of Maui, on the state of Hawaii. Definitely, at this point, we need to take care of the people, particularly over there in Lahaina, and ask what their needs are and what they need. But I'm here today because I want to talk about long-term solutions, a longer view of what we need to do as a community. And the first point I'd like to make is, I believe it's A and B, I'm not quite sure of that, but A and B and the people and entities that started the plantation system, grew sugarcane, grew pineapple, made a very large and vast empire of plantations on this island, and reap the benefits of that for over 100 years now. They took up and left a few years back and left everything. They said, we're done, that's it, okay? They did not do anything to reclaim the land, to mitigate any kind of changes that they had made. And in the years that have since then, grasses have grown that are invasive grasses. There's no irrigation. There's no rehabilitation of the land. And so we get in the situation caused, again, by climate change also, where we have raging fires that happen and, high winds. Recipe for something like this happening, and it happened a few years back over the last hurricane on a smaller scale. But A and B, these companies should be held accountable for that, or at the least, do something to say, we want to help out here. So this is what I propose they should do. They should rehabilitate some of this land and grant them over to people who have lost their homes, 10, 20-acre lots, so they can farm on their own. Let's have small farms that can sustain food here in Hawaii, so we don't have to rely on the mainland all the time for all that. The other point I'd like to make is we had a great system back in the days of the Hawaiian Kingdom and before of Apuaha, land management from the mountains to the sea. And it's based on an old system of, gathering, farming, fishing, taking what you need for your needs. And we're at a place right now we can have a clean slate. And that clean slate could include bringing back that system, okay? That system in whatever way we could make that happen.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Trinette Furtado. I currently live in Kula, but I come from Maui Komohana. Many generations. Being on the ground and going in from the very beginning, I passed by houses that I used to sleep over. Friends' places that we used to duck below the fences so that we wouldn't get caught and smacked by parents for being late for things. Lahaina is my papahanau. And to see how they're being treated consistently, even now, breaks my heart. I have a hard time telling Auntie, whom I visit on Niheu Street, that our government really cares about her when she is told that if she leaves, she's not gonna come back because the air quality is bad. Though she sees influencers and media and all sorts of other people walking all over what could possibly be the ashes of our loved ones. It hurts. The emergency proclamation that the governor had given for building of housing protects nothing. It makes no affordable housing available for anybody, but allows rampant development. And I'm just going to say that now, nothing in the proclamation conserves anything for affordable housing. Looking at housing as we move forward, I absolutely love your mana'o. Nothing about us without us. We cannot say it's a kako thing if it's not a kako thing, if it's a lako thing, if it's an oko thing. It must be kako, because that's where we make our connections. And that's what I see, not in this chamber, the connections that I make when I go to the hubs, and you all have seen it if you have been there yourselves, the connections you make with people. Alo, he alo, right? It's a kako thing. They feel comfortable to tell you what's wrong. They feel comfortable and confident that you will help them when no one else seems to be doing so. Access to language harms many. Access to transportation to even get here harms many. Access to technology to even get online and testify harms many. And there, we lose them and it does not become a kako thing. No matter how much we want to say it is, it isn't. When we think about kako, we must also think of those who were unsheltered prior to this disaster, who now absolutely face even more stigmatization, even more demonization. They are pushed out of hotels even faster than our loved ones that have lost homes. And these people lost homes through no fault of their own, a disaster. That the proclamation, we could have been producing homes all these many decades. So the fault of homes not being produced isn't because of the protections we have in place. The fault is government. The fault is will of people. We see now with private individuals, as Autumn Ness had said, when you have the will to build something for people, it happens. We're seeing that with the church Family Life Center. You know, we're seeing that happen on private levels. When you have the will and the desire to do something, it happens. When you don't, we see that it doesn't. And it has been decades of we don't. The moratorium loopholes, I want to discuss that really quick. So say the moratorium on evictions is extended. It doesn't close the loophole of people who evict others, claiming to bring in immediate family members so that they can then raise the rent and then rent it to someone else. Nobody goes back to check to make sure that immediate family members are there. So that's one of the things that we need to look at when we're looking at the moratorium. And a very last thing on the housing, if we're looking at funding and subsidizing, especially people that are out of Lahaina, way out of Lahaina, with private infrastructure and units that they will get to keep and not the families, are we creating private developers and private developments in the process? That's
Tara Rojas.
Thank you, Mahalo. I just said it for 4 minutes, and I would like to start it now. This is my testimony for both items.
You may begin.
Tara, you're unmuted on our end. We cannot hear you at the moment.
No, this is part of my testimony.
Thank you for clarifying.
I am at 2 minutes. I can go for another 2. This testimony of mine represents what the Lahaina community is feeling right now. They have 0 voice. This represents what the people of Hawaii are feeling right now with this emergency proclamation. They're not being heard. Whether you give us 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes, does anything we say have any effect of you on you all, or is it falling on deaf ears? If you are not made to feel uncomfortable, and if nothing changes, nothing changes. Instead of trying to fit everything that we all want to say in an allotted 3 minutes in which we don't have a dialogue, in which we feel that nothing happens, you're just going to go on with business as usual, and the community will not receive the funding, nor the help, nor the support, then why even have these meetings? Why even take testimonies if a mere 4 minutes of silence, 2 minutes of silence, doesn't wake you up to the realities of voices and lives just literally being ignored, not heard? So these meetings need to be held in Lahaina with the community affected. The community should not and will not be evicted and be homeless to cater to extractive tourism. Again, it's the community first and foremost. Thank you so much, for your testimony is all we're going to hear. Next, it's time to take a stand and make a real change. Mahalo.
Thank you so very much for your testimony. And I just want to say for the record that everything that you all say is not falling on deaf ears. Everything you write to us is never not read. Each of us read all your testimonies, we listen to what you say, and we talk about it when we have the opportunity to deliberate. Until all the testimonies are completed, then you're free to write to us, text us, email us, call us, because we're available to you. The process we have adopted, what we're doing right here, is a process to give fairness to everyone. And I thank you for your testimony. I thank you for your time of silence, because I use that time of silence to pray for 2 minutes. Gives me an extra oomph for today, and it helps me throughout the day and throughout this committee. So thank you again, Ms. Tara. Anna?
Aloha, my name is DeAndre Takahashi. I'm going to be testifying on both items. Sorry, I only wrote one. I'm a Lahaina resident. My home burned down, but by the grace of God, I was able to find long-term housing in Upper Kula. So I was able to find long-term housing because I was moving into the impacted water zone. So, but that is better than not having housing, right? That stability, I'll deal with not being able to shower or brush my teeth, because having that stability that I have a home to live in is better than being in the hotels or who knows where and just being afraid. So our community in Lahaina has proven that they have solutions, and they've done all the right things, setting up hubs, organizing resources, more recently going green in those hubs. So the community has proven themselves, and it shouldn't be the case where the community feels that they're adversaries with the government or the county or the state or every entity that we feel that we're at odds with. The government should be backing the community because we have those solutions, and then they could be supplementing with better solutions or you know what I mean? One of those solutions is a land trust, a community land trust that can be put into place to, and I'm not educated enough to speak on the specifics of it, but I just want to get the idea out there that this land trust could be held so that my 81-year-old great auntie that I was renting a house from, she's never going to see the rebuilding of Lahaina, right? But she can put her homes into this land trust and her descendants can buy it later on in the future. Or people who have the intention of coming back but can't survive right now, they can sell to the trust with full security and knowledge that they're going to come back 10 years later and be able to buy that home. And unfortunately, it's all private investors that the community is trying to get this together with. But if the state and federal government could subsidize this, then kind of everything would just solve itself. You know what I mean? Tourism could come back because our residents have that security and comfort that they can go back to work. Nobody wants to work right now. And speaking on tourism, we need to diversify our economy because we've proven twice now, once in COVID and now with this fire, that tourism does not sustain our people. They are not here for us. They like to shove that in our face. I grew up thinking that. I was a bartender in Waikiki for 5 years. We're indoctrinated thinking that we need tourism to survive, and people want to shove it in our face and gaslight us into believing so. But it's not true, and it has been proven twice now. When shit hits the fan, tourism dips out, and we're left on our own, stranded, starving. But that shouldn't be because we live in Hawaii, right? With some of the most fertile soil in all of the world. We had an ahupua'a system a couple centuries ago that was completely efficient, and Lahaina is a prime example of how we can return to that. A kid could go to school in the ahupua'a system and never have to leave. You go to Camp 3rd or Princess Nahianana, you go to Lahaina Intermediate, you go to Lahaina Luna, you could have all your food grown in that ahupua'a system, the local i'a. Energy could be green. Lahaina means House of the Merciless Sun, right? Everybody on this rebuilding of Lahaina, it should be implemented that everybody has to have solar. Everybody has to have green energy. It's completely doable. Everybody has to plant a tree, a native tree or non-native, ulu, mango, just bring the food back. The day after the fire, we were starving, but that's crazy. We live in Hawaii. You know, Lahaina specifically was the breadbasket. So why are we starving in our own land? We're trying to figure out what supermarket is open so we can buy imported goods. And it feels like the system is set up that way against us to keep us this way. And if anybody has the power to make those changes, it's our county and state government, right? And I think despite all the backlash and, you know, I'm not educated enough to talk on this either, but we just need to put the community first and go against corporate interests. And it might be hard in the beginning, but sometimes you got to take that step back so that you can make that grand leap forward.
Aloha, Jordan Ruiz. I'll be testifying on both. Born and raised Lahaina girl. Starting on opening up on October 8th, we need to get housing in place for these people and schooling for the kids. If we do not have these things, they cannot work. If they refuse work, they cannot get unemployment. And these people in the hotels are starting to not look okay anymore, mentally or physically. The uncertainties that they're dealing with every day are eating away at them. Some still have family and friends unaccounted for and are asked to go back to work with no closure. Every time we get an update on confirmation of someone being identified in or perished in the fire, our world crumbles all over again, whether you personally knew that person or not. Rushing to open is asking for a disaster. Like Autumn said, you guys want us to give this Maui no Ko'oi service, but I don't feel a lot of us in Lahaina have any aloha to give these tourists because we're giving aloha to our own community day in and day out just to survive another day. These people who have lost everything feel like they have nothing else to lose, and this is gonna ask for big problems. I would like to think that these tourists are coming with good intentions to support us, learn of what we are going through, and help. But as of now, we have tourists going to the hubs thinking they're swap meets, and they are surprised when everything is free. We ask that you please come and meet with us in Lahaina, spend the time with us and give us a chance to speak with you folks on our aina. Come feel the strength of our community while we are in our own town. We ask that you folks have the urgency with the projects that are already approved, like Pulelehua, rebuild of the Kaia'ulu apartments, and Kaia'ulu o Kukuia, I think it's called, and make sure our displaced families and locals have precedence. What actions are being taken to secure housing for our displaced families at the moment? We want to know how your plans will protect our community from luxury developers and speculators. The emergency proclamation that predated the fire is meant to speed up home construction statewide, but we must ensure our local needs come first. There are simply not enough safeguards in place from speculators and for-profit investors. We have some people in the community who aren't sure if they'll even make it through the rebuild physically or mentally. A possible solution includes establishing a community land trust to serve as a protective placeholder to keep Lahaina lands in local hands. This method could help Lahaina residents who cannot afford to wait years to rebuild by offering them a way to sell their properties to the land trust with an option to repurchase it down the road and when the community has time to rebuild. One way the council can support this model is through matching funds and establishment of the land trusts. So I just ask you folks, please open your hearts, continue to keep them open because we're only at the beginning of a long road ahead. Hear our cries and support us in Lahaina. Thank you.
So I just wanted to say that the Great Committee is going to have a meeting to be discussing exactly what you kind of said. On the 18th, it is going to be in Chambers because we couldn't find someplace in Lahaina when we posted, but we are going out to Lahaina on the 27th at the West End at 9 o'clock. So I look forward to seeing you and everybody else there. Thank you.
And I think I just want to make mention for all of you that it has been difficult finding a place to meet on the West Side. Every one of us chairs a committee, and each of our committees want to go out there. We have wanted to go out there, but we wanted to give you folks time to grieve, to heal, wanted to give you folks space that you needed. And then when we did finally try to go and get some facility, there weren't any. And Great Committee, which is headed by Member Uhu Hodgins, was the first one that we actually put it through and are able to go out until. But that's what we're looking at, and that's what we face too. We understand the housing issues that you're facing, so understand too the facility issues that we face in trying to get out there. Because when we go, it's not just 9 members, it's 9 members, all of our staff. We each have 2, 3, 4 staff members. It is also the Office of Council Services, the people here and the people here that we take with us. So it's a large group of people that we have to transport from here to there and find a facility that we assume we'd be able to house maybe 500 to 1,000 people, because that's how we assume the people will show up, because we know you can't come here. And we're very clear about that. And we are trying to make strides to be able to go and listen, to hear what you have to say to us, and what are your thoughts and your ideas of how you want to rebuild your community. And like, you know, Trinette always quotes me, because she's right. I always say nothing about us without us. And I'm serious about that. It takes us a little longer because that is government. But if we work together and we paddle in our canoes together in the same direction, we will arrive at our destination. So thank you so very much.
Hi, I'm Ashley Rodriguez. I am a resident of Wailuku. I'm born and raised here. Been here for 32 years because I'm 32 years old. I was here roughly 15-ish years ago, back when we were fighting Wailea 670 as a high school student, making testimony. And now I'm here again. It's been a while. Thank you, Council. Most of you weren't actually here 15 years ago. Ms. Tasha Kamen, you were. So actually, I wanted to kind of go over the State Emergency Proclamation. We're wanting to know why. Why are we bypassing the environmental impact surveys? Why are we bypassing a lot of the building codes and everything else for the sake of, oh, because it was already done maybe previously years ago. Guess what? We're not in the same situation that we were years ago. In fact, we're not even in the same situation we were 5 years ago. Obviously, especially with the Lahaina that's happened and upcountry, we have been out of water for years. We've had to put Pukalani many, many times on a drought thing where they have to pull back on what they're doing and how they're utilizing their water. And yet we're wanting to build thousands and thousands of more homes. In this situation, unfortunately, in Lahaina, with the fire, we didn't even have enough water to take care of that situation. Going to Kula, which was on a smaller scale of the fire, we also did not have enough water and infrastructure to take care of that fire on that day. So why are we still building beyond what our needs of the island can handle? We are a little bit different in the sense of we are on an island and not in the mainland. So our resources are a lot less capable of holding the infinite amount of people. I'm not going to go on race and ethnicity and whatnot on that, but the infinite amount of people that live here. Okay, so that's the emergency proclamation, as well intended as it is to create housing and according to their idea, to create affordable housing, as well implied as that is. I think we really definitely need to take a look at that. And then also putting people into place that are actually informed. I'm not going to name anybody, but having Josh Green being able to just appoint one person, why is he being allowed to make a decision on something like this on his own? So that's a couple of questions that came from the emergency proclamation of building. Where's the water? Infrastructure and maintenance. We've had tons of problems with infrastructure and maintenance. A huge problem, as we all know, was the telephone poles and maintenance of major infrastructures like that. That's been an issue. Why are we not fixing these problems instead of creating new problems? Okay. Going into building sustainability and crops. During COVID, we were told that we were going to be building a community and a statehood of sustainability, not on tourism, which is where these crops of limes, coffee, lemons came into. But where is that sustainability? Where is that money? Where's all the jobs coming from? Because you're not having anybody harvesting, you're not having anybody growing. It's a very minute few where this money is going to. So where is that actual sustainability being grown? We would love to see, as the gentleman mentioned, more sustainability, more crops, community sustainability. We should be able to grow our own food. Solar, why are we being capped on solar? Why do we need to apply to still stay on grid for solar? There's a ridiculous amount of solar. Just put it up.
My name is William Spence. I was just monitoring the meeting and I found the testimony so compelling. I thought I might add just a couple of things. To me, the West Maui residents come first and we have to take care of them. That was my first thought after the shock of even imagining that Lahaina burned, is what about the people? These are the former cane workers with Pioneer Mill, former pineapple workers, now the people who work in the hotels, and the Native Hawaiian community especially. Somehow we need to take care of them first. And I don't want this to make this into a cliche, but really the Lahaina lands have to remain in Lahaina hands. When I hear people's concerns about smart cities, and even one young lady testified about skyscrapers, we can't allow that kind of thing to take place. I'm not especially fearful of that happening over the proclamation, but at the same time, I really hear the people's concerns over it. I think that, I hear people saying, let's rebuild quickly, and I'm all in favor of that. But if that proclamation is going to cause concerns, I might suggest something that this committee or this council, together with the administration, come up with their own proclamation, the way that this county wants to do it, and then have the governor support that with a subsequent proclamation. However that needs to be done to support the Maui doing it right, the Lahaina people doing it right.
My name is Rose Crichton, and mahalo for giving us time today to speak on behalf of the crisis happening right now. I'm going to be speaking on behalf more so of the housing crisis. I too was going to listen in because I know, a lot of these things are repetitive, but, when we had the group meeting in Lahaina, the grassroots meeting that just basically had informative information, I think that was probably the best meeting overall so far. And I'm speaking on behalf of somebody who was fortunate enough to not lose their house, but I wanted to be there for a lot of my family and friends who are going through this difficult time, a lot worse than we have it. So I was there listening and everything was freaking amazing. Information was amazing. The resources were amazing. The few things that I took away and that I wish we kind of knew more information about, but I think Kainin Shiki might have already touched base on this, but it was, benchmarks, a timeline. One thing that, why we're so in the dark is because, we hear all this good, useful information, but we get so much conflicting information with dates and when people have to be out. Some people are being helped long term. Some people have no idea. So I think my solution to that is, my recommended solution to that is basically putting yourself out there. Like Minnie said, a lot of people are not here today, and I wasn't going to personally be here speaking because I'm at work, but I am able to take a lunch. So I'm glad it happened around the time that it did. But it's just speaking to people. Come into Lahaina and speak to people. I mean, shucks, I don't know if you guys want video testimony. I don't know what will help, just to hear more people of Lahaina. But again, it's really about putting yourself out there and going to the hubs, talking to people. I know personally I've seen like Tamara on, she's hit the ground running since everything started. And we all hear it when we're in Lahaina, so we hear it. And I speak on behalf of some of the Kula people too. It's a lot right now. A lot of people don't know what we're going through unless they're here to witness and here to talk to everybody in person. But one of the big things that I took away from that awesome meeting that was held by, I think, Donnie Palakiko, his wife, and I know Tamara was there, and Mayor Bisson, but one of them was, what intrigued me and I was happy to hear was the speed of permitting processing. Like, I know they had mentioned they wanted to do that, but what kind of triggered my brain was, from when I was in high school, we were groomed to be in the hospitality industry. And when I look at the criteria, because, the mayor had mentioned that, there's 700 jobs within the county. When I look at the criteria of what they're requesting for permitting or land surveying, it's a lot. And it's a lot, even for me, I'm like, crap, how would I be able to switch jobs so that I could help my community to help speed up this process, So instead of grooming our Kiki in the Department of Education to lean towards hospitality and tourism, how about we groom them into taking care of our Aina, taking care of our land, taking care of our town and our community, and grooming them in the environmental aspect or how to become members of the county process, because I wasn't taught any of that. I can tell you right now, I had to learn along the way by people educating me. So I can only ask from you folks to put it out there to maybe, just as an idea, put it out there, like if you want to learn about permitting or land surveying or whatever, just to help these processes, because like I already mentioned, and I think a lot of people have already said, like, let Lahaina build Lahaina, and this is one of the ways that we can help, and we want to help, but we need your help in that process as well.
So the stuff that I was distributing to you is from the Honolulu Star Advertiser, August 25th. Got some pretty pictures there of the King's Cathedral houses that they're the little tiny houses, the little tiny community. Oh yeah, I forgot to say aloha. I said aloha kako. My name's J.C. Law from Kulauka. And I apologize for the Kanaka for knowing most of the English words. Mahalo for the clerk. I have it in writing now that the Family Life Center is a partner with King's Cathedral. They've been denying that for a long time. There's a King's Cathedral church in my neighborhood. I know Mohale. They never liked me on the Aina, even at church service. I want to work for my community. I could have been a cop, but I got in trouble before. Now they call the cops on me for going to pray there. Last night, I spotted Kahutufa having one hui, and it looked like they was eating with some Kanaka Maole, so at least they were using the facilities, but they never give to me. And I didn't eat lunch either, so I'm end this up with, I'm hoping to see a tiny home or a trailer up there soon with people from Lahaina living there. 9 out of 10 people that goes to church there Sunday is good, but their administration, their cult-like administration, you have to watch. Finally, I'd like to take the opportunity to ask Governor Green and Jimmy Tokioka, if they make a deal with the devil, could you ask for the stipulation that they at least quit calling people homeless?
My name is Bennett DeBeer, born and raised here in Hawaii. Been on the island of Maui since 1976. Kind of aged myself, but first of all, I just want to give all due respect to the people from Lahaina and what we're all here for today. I wanted to listen and hear everyone speak. I'm actually up here because I want to make a formal request. This is something that's been on my mind a lot. It was on my mind during our last Mayor Victorino. And I just, morale is important. The morale of the local people, the morale of the government. When they talk about military, the morale, And also, I want to try to start closing the gap between local, county, and state government, between the people. The gap is way too big, and I've seen it. I've been out to the hubs. I was on a boat bringing supplies, and so I saw a lot of this disconnect, and it's tough to see that. So my request is not anything new, and also hearing some of the other testimony, this one saying is stuck in my head. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. What I want to make a request is not anything new, but I think it's long overdue for the people of Maui. I think it's long overdue for the community. And this is something that the community of Maui deserves. And I want to start seeing once a month from our mayor, public town hall meetings. Questions, answers. We can have a time limit. We will not. The town hall is about something about our mayor respecting us to grant us a town hall, and also us respecting our mayor. I want to love our mayor. I want to rally around our mayor, work with our mayor. And I know he wants to do the same, because if our mayor and our county council, if you guys are failing, guess who's failing? Us. So I want to see you succeed. And, you work, for us, with us, however you want to put it, right? Our tax dollars. So this is something I tried to get with Mr. Victorino. He granted me a private meeting because of the COVID thing. And so maybe, I don't want to talk about that right now, but right now it seems there's no reason why we can't have one town hall meeting a month, maybe for the next 12 months, see how it goes. I can help set it up myself. I have people in place. And it's all about respect. We wouldn't tolerate disruptiveness or anything. And I think there's a percentage of people here on Maui residents, whether they know it or not right now, they need it. They need to be able, in a public setting, to see our mayor, talk with our mayor. He is our perceived leader. He is the captain of our ship. And I've worked on boats. And it starts at the captain, the morale, the orders. What's happening? Why is this rope like this? Why is this deck dirty? Oh, sorry, Captain, I'll get on that. And he's our perceived captain, and I want him to succeed. So if you guys have any dialogue with the mayor, that's my request. My formal request is to have public town hall meetings with our mayor, at least once a month. We can start in November, we can start in October. And I think that's not a whole lot to ask for the people of Maui. So thanks for your...
Hi, my name's Joe Matson. Moved here when I was 10 from Lahaina. And been out here for about 30 years. But regardless of all that, I want to bring up a subject, and it may not be completely directly connected, but it is connected to the house affected, obviously. So it's kind of interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look up and you Google how much aid we've received from the federal government, you get a number like 5.6 million. Is that incorrect at all? Does anyone have anything other than that?
I don't have anything that says that. I haven't Googled, but I think what we've been getting has been what they say is what we understand. So if that's
Right,
what you're
so-
getting on Google, that's what it is.
So 5.6 million, that's it, and they say that's to be allocated to 2,000 households, and I'm not even sure that's the total amount that was affected. Probably doesn't include the businesses, but that's only 2,800 per household. And I think everyone here knows that's like a month or less here on Maui. So that's completely unacceptable from the federal government, and I know you folks are not directly responsible for that at all. And I actually want to make a note that you folks are people here on Maui, just like me, just like everyone that's testified, and that needs to be a prominent factor in all of our mentalities. We're all in this together, but 2,800 for each household is not nearly enough. When 95 million is being committed to the power grid, that would be 47,000 per household. That's something. We've been sending billions elsewhere as far as the federal government's concerned. And that's unacceptable in the sense of the response here on Maui. So something needs to happen there, like a gap, like everyone says, a gap needs to be closed here somewhere. That aside, I would like to extend. I know that you guys have a daunting job. I know that it's impossible to keep up with everyone that's probably trying to communicate, all the ideas flying around. So, with a little bit of time I have left, is there certain subjects, certain ideas, or certain questions that you guys have for the community that we can get answered? Is there things that you're running into, roadblocks you're running into that the community can help with? And if there is, please tell me. I'm available. I'm fully able to volunteer. Luckily, my life has been relatively little affected, but please use me as a liaison, as anything. Because yeah, it's a rough scene. It's tough. I've been out there a few times. I delivered a couple of generators. I'm trying to get people air filters out there. I got an AC company connected with the tiny home community. I don't even know what's happening with the tiny home community at this point. I hope they're still full speed ahead. But yeah, whatever you folks need, I mean, you said reach out to you. We need you to reach out to us too. Like we need to know what needs to happen, what you guys need, And so
I'll just kind of give you some stuff by the numbers that came out today, September 13th. So FEMA and the US SBA, the Small Business Administration, they gave out $89.25 million in federal assistance so far. $22,832,000 in FEMA assistance approved for individuals and households, including $11,186,000 approved for housing assistance, $11,600,000 approved for other needs assistance, $66,250,000 in SBA disaster loans approved for Maui homes, renters, and businesses. The island of Maui was designated for FEMA assistance, and 5,194 households have been approved for individual and household programs. So those are the by the numbers. Now you asked specifically, what can we do to help? I've been going out to the hubs as much as I can. I live on Lanai, but if you've been there, you might have seen me over there. I've been trying to kind of bridge the gap between a lot of misinformation that's going out there. FEMA is data-based, numbers-driven, right? So it's important that even if people don't want the FEMA services, that they register with FEMA so that the government knows how many people have been affected. Businesses might not want an SBA loan, but if you file for it and you register for it, it will open up more opportunities for you down the road. This is coming from advice from other members of victims of firefighters, the California wildfires. Those are coming from advice on those communities. Right now, they say 5,000 households are getting assistance by FEMA. I think there's way more households that have been affected. So we need to really educate people on that. So that's one thing you do is speak. Try to get folks out there to. Even though they might not like FEMA, and I understand that, to give them the data. The data is key because it's the feds. They operate off of data, and that's the language they speak. So
a lot of those people have a little bit of trouble, one, even using technology, potentially, and some of them have connectivity issues.
Yeah, I was going to concur with Member Johnson. The Disaster Recovery Center at the Civic has it. Napili Park, there's folks from FEMA signing folks up to register. So it's almost at every hub in West Maui. The Gateway at Kahana has FEMA tents. And I think for the long-term housing through Red Cross, they'd like you to register for FEMA, but you don't need to be accepted.
Right.
As long as you register, they'll try and get an 18-month contract. And also been speaking with lawyers if people try to get removed from the hotel without long-term housing, about filing like a emergency motion for injunction to stop our people from being further displaced.
Yes.
This is Dr. Joseph Cohn, KOA Chen. I am the founder of We Are One Incorporated. Since 2012. This is home, not going anywhere. We also have a vacation rental in Kihei that is out of business since the fires. I just want to say I'm proud of the people of Lahaina and Maui for stepping up and supporting each other, and everybody doing the best they can. It is heartwarming and heartbreaking, challenging, tragic time. I'm proud of the people of Lahaina and Maui for stepping up and supporting each other, and everyone who stepped up to do that. And also federal and state agencies and everyone else who's got the best intentions. From these huge challenges, there are, of course, huge opportunities. The priorities, I think, should be local people before profit, and supporting local goals of respect for people and the Aina. I think part of the solutions long-term are, of course, restoration of Mauka Makai, which would have prevented all of the fires. What we do now matters in the present and in the future. We need to support human rights, government and corporate accountability, and transparency. And many of these things seem to be at risk in the emergency proclamation. I really appreciate that we've got this open forum to at least have everybody's thinking recorded. I think there's been wonderful possibilities mentioned and to consider. Regarding not having a place to have a meeting in Lahaina, there's something called large circus tents, which can provide a venue for thousands, and they're made to withstand pretty harsh conditions, actually. So that's I know we have that available on this island somewhere. I also think the proclamation is a risk to due process, and that should not be sacrificed during these times. And if there's any time remaining, I would like to actually offer a moment of silence just to reflect on what it would be like if I was more affected directly by these fires, as so many have.
We have 30 seconds left on your time.
Thank you again for your kind attention.
To testify is Susan Piccola Davis.
Understand the concerns. Not only do we have a proclamation relating to housing from the governor, We also have a proclamation from the governor on wildfires. These two proclamations are concerning. Been spending a lot of time reading them just to see what kind of rights we have. But I'm asking the committee to please take a look at not only the proclamation on housing, and I know that has to do with land use, but in the governor's proclamation, which I want to say it's like 20 pages, there's a lot more in there that crosses over this.
But as a reminder, written testimony will continue to be accepted into the record. Okay, so I think I was going to probably see if we have anybody from the administration.
I do believe that Lori Suhako is monitoring this meeting, but just so everyone knows, we did attempt to contact the governor's office, and a representative from the governor's office was not available today.
So this question is for you, Chair. You would like us to, during our deliberations, provide you questions, and then this committee is going to reach out to Gov's office for more clarification on our questions. Is that what our plan is for this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But also I was hoping that we could talk about what we've heard with our test suppliers, if we can do that, Remy? You know, because I think we heard a lot of good stuff, and we also are going to bring back, I think, a couple of resource people, right? I think we asked. So today, a couple of people have to get on the other side by 5 o'clock this evening. So if you could just all help each other so that we can allow them to leave here at least by 4. So if we could have a harder hard out at 4 as opposed to 4:30, just to make sure that all the members who need to go on the west side are going to get there safely. Chair Lee, did you have a question?
What's going on the west side?
Party, no. EPA at 5.
Where?
At the West End, I believe. You want the address?
Yeah, maybe we can go. The rest of us can go.
You guys all like go out there. Well,
yeah, I'm meeting with the I don't know if anyone else is, but
I think Shane was going to go out there too, and
oh, never mind. I thought it was a public thing.
It kind of is. It's always a public thing, right?
Well,
it's with the
sunshine
top
law.
of EPA.
Yeah.
That's here right now.
Well, I think up to you guys if you folks want to go. I mean, I always think those things are public. So when had the governor's liaison been here, we would have had to ask her a ton of questions, right? So what I want to do now is make sure that we get those questions asked, and then we get them answered. So we're still going to send them to the governor. But I don't know is how do you want it done? Do you folks just want to send your questions to the committee? Because what I'd like to do is, yes, Member Paulton.
I did do that already.
Okay. So if anybody didn't send their questions, if you had any additional questions that you thought you could ask the governor's liaison, but she's not here. So I'm asking if you folks want to just write it and send it, and the committee will send it on to the governor. Member Hodgins, and then Member Shirley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to both write it to you and then say it as well.
Okay.
I think I at least work better when I hear everybody else's questions, and then it helps me formulate my own.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Lee, Shirley?
I was wondering if Nani Medeiros had given you information already.
No.
No. So she was going to present it all today.
She would have if she would have stayed long enough to work on it, I think, but I hadn't gotten anything from her regarding anything at all.
So you're talking about projects that were approved or would be approved by the state?
Right, because they had that working group, right? That they put together, and that they would come up with those guys that would say okie dokie to the project, right? So I didn't get anything. Member Paulton?
I was meeting with her in the 3 days prior to her resignation. And we were discussing West Maui areas that we could put out there as the start of a framework of areas. And so she was supportive of Pulelehua, it
Oh,
seemed,
definitely.
and the two Ikaika Ohana projects. And then we also had discussed the 50-acre park as like temporary permanent for like 5-10 years, as well as the 40 acres that Maui Land and Pine had above the community garden, also temporary permanent. But you know, I guess the thing that we discussed on the last time was that the emergency housing proclamation had some safeguards, and they were looking to amend that based on community feedback. But the governor's emergency wildfire proclamation had like no safeguards. And so that was one of my questions is like, you know, she had said like West Maui is not a part of the emergency housing proclamation because it was so soon when we first discussed it and people were really, really raw at that time. And then in the last meeting, she mentioned that, you know, there's the emergency housing proclamation and then there's the emergency wildfire proclamation, which that's kind of my question is, you know, it suspends all these laws without any kind of safeguard at all. And it suspends Chapter 46 and all these things. So the question is, if West Maui isn't really included, like she said, in the emergency housing proclamation because we need time, then how does the emergency wildfire proclamation give us time and protections from those things? So that's the main question. And with all these layers of emergency proclamations, does anyone know like who's in charge?
Okay, that's a good question, okay? I didn't say I didn't know, I just said that's a good question. So I just want to make sure that our staff is getting it so that we get it right? Okay, so that's a good question. Member Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair. My first question would be on page 4 of the emergency proclamation relating to housing. At the bottom of page 4, state lead housing officer, as we heard that Ms. Medeiros had resigned. So is this position going to continue and be filled, or he's doing away with this position? Oh, there's an interim. Okay.
There's an interim? Do we have an interim name?
Yes, Chair. He was here the other day, Scott Glenn.
Scott Glenn, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Member Hodgins. And then the other one was, I was going to personally send my own letter, but my question was, or my request was to delay the opening date. We did hear yesterday from, and at previous meetings, I believe the governor had even considered November and December dates for reopening. But hearing that Mr. Tokioka yesterday saying that he was only opening so that some of the timeshares could keep their reservation dates, if he's gonna continue to have that date, maybe, and it's just for timeshares, maybe the hotel, we could extend the hotel stays for some of our displaced families. So that was my my other question to him. And then, of course, and my last one was just maybe reconsidering Chapter 92. Chair, we did have a lot of testimony from members about residents about coming to Lahaina and about us. Kind of a lot of it was directed to us, but you know, it's hard for us to respond to them if Chapter 92 HRS on public meetings and the Sunshine Law is being suspended, and we can't, you know, really be that voice. You know, we talked about us being the voice for the people. We talked about closing this gap. And I think some of these proclamations, should he reconsider these, would definitely do that, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we got that, staff is, okay. Yes, Council Chair?
What did you mean by that? Just now? The proclamation with what, with regard to the venues we've been looking for?
Chair,
Yes.
if I may, Chapter 92 HRS on public meetings, is that the one with Sunshine? So I was,
Okay. No, we were talking about not being able to find venues.
I think just including for testimonies, so that we can still have people come and I guess testify.
Well, you know, if I may, we were able to find the Westin of all, I mean, we called all the hotels. There are only two. Ritz, which wouldn't be available until the 25th or something like that. And then the Westin was the only one that would give us two in a row, two openings in a row. And so please keep that in mind, everybody. If we're kind of reserving those times for the great committee. So if your other committees would like to go, probably now is not the time, because you won't be able to find a place, you know. So the main thing is the great committee goes first, so we can get as much feedback as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're on a great committee, so we'll all be there. Member Paulton?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, in addition to the hotels, maybe we can try Lahaina Luna at the cafeteria, or Maui Prep at the cafeteria. Maui Prep if it's like a Saturday or evening, or the gymnasium at Maui Prep. Lahaina Luna is not in session right now, so maybe during regular daytime hours, we could do Lahaina Luna cafeteria. It's at the very top. But I heard some folks saying that they're trying to aim for the end of fall break to get the students back there, so we can experience firsthand if the air quality is sufficient.
Okay, can I answer that? Maui Prep is available after 6:30 at night. That's the problem. So if you want to have a meeting after 6:30 at night, or from 6:30 on, then we thought that was too late. So the other one, Lahaina Luna, the staff was looking at the schools, but they thought that it was too close to the burn areas, so I can ask them to look again.
Member Paulton, go ahead.
Yeah, and then just wondering if Saturday at Maui Prep would be an option if we're in a crunch.
We can check on that. We also checked on all the churches, by the way. And for some reason, the church, I don't know why, they said yes, but we have to give them the names and addresses of people who attend. We didn't think that would be proper. Well, of the testifiers. I mean, why would they need that information?
Did you ask the church?
Yeah, we just felt, well, we don't want to tell them, why do you need the information? I mean, you know.
But we would, right? We want to know.
Well, we could. Okay. We just didn't want to, you know, antagonize anybody unnecessarily.
Yeah. But, I mean.
Why would the church need to have that information? Yeah?
Ask the church. Sorry. But I think if Maui Prep is open to a Saturday, and if our staff is open to a Saturday, I don't know, because I know that's OT for all you guys. Oh, do you guys all get OT? Do you guys get OT? No, right? We're all salaried.
Of course we don't get OT.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that Saturday would be okay. Trying to take a straw poll. Okay. But I like the idea of a Saturday, because then it's a longer meeting, right? And we could do something really, I think, meaningful.
Okay, and then we're also thinking of parking. So I don't know how much parking they have, but the smaller venues, we're looking at providing a shuttle service.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is do all the questions that you want to send to the governor first, get that out of the way, and then go into talking about what we've heard our resource people say in terms of what we want to do next step going forward. And what we can do, seeing as how, or can't, seeing as how we have an agendas items here. We don't have any actually state people here, but we have resources that we've invited. And so I think that if we could talk about the EP in terms of how we can use the EP to move maybe our Maui housing efforts forward. And that's where what we heard the testimonies come in today in terms of moving that forward. And we could use the EP in that method to be able to move things forward. So that's my.
What changes, if any, can we expect with the next iteration of the EP? 2, when is collective bargaining suspended relating to housing? 3, what are the circumstances in which the lead housing officer will be able to unilaterally approve projects? As I understand it, it's DHHL. For full clarity, I did have a meeting, but as the lead housing officer is changing, I would like to just have these in writing. And then 4, this is kind of what I'm talking about. What happens to the EP now, considering Ms. Medeiros and her resignation? I know that we have an interim director, but what then after? When this EP initially came out, it was anticipated to continue for a year with the re-signing every 60 days. Is that still what we are anticipating? Will this end in a year? And then continuing with that, when this expires, what changes, if any, should we expect on the state level that benefits housing so we no longer have to do EPs to fix our housing situation? 3 or 8, whatever number I'm on. Considering that this is a EP on housing and not specifically for new housing, what can we do better to help our renters? And then what can we do better to ensure that these homes are going to be going to local people first? What is the residency requirement that we're going to be utilizing in determining who gets to buy these homes? And then for Maui specifically, because you know, we are going through a tragedy right now and suffering through a disaster. Can we have language that includes, or rather excludes, the affected area so that the Lahaina residents know that we are not going to be using the EP to build without their participation? And then lastly, this kind of relates to the wildfire EP, but I would kind of like to see similar language in the housing EP. As I said, it is not just specific to new housing. In the wildfire EP, Member Sinanci and I were discussing this. I think it's on page 5, number 14, sections 127A, 30R HRS, as it relates to the rental sale of essential commodities during the state of an emergency and a prohibition against rent increases for the time being. I heard somebody say 18 months, but if that can be considered, we can roll it over into the housing EP specifically for Maui, considering the wildfire EP should be expiring in 60 days.
I'll go ahead and read, but my main thing is letting the state know that the county wants to work hand in hand and what, if any, participation they're going to allow us during this process.
Does the governor have a priority list? You know, we often talk about projects in the pipeline and where they are in particular context. I want to remind everybody, Lanai has 115 acres of affordable housing project, land fully entitled, ready to go. I would assume that's a high priority, but I don't want to assume. So I'm going to see if they could respond in writing.
Okay.
You know, what's the priority list? Do you have a list of priorities? And where is Lanai specifically on that list?
And would you like to also ask if it's not on, put it on?
Yes,
Okay.
most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this isn't for Lahaina, this is for the emergency proclamation overall. That, you know, if we're doing these types of fast tracking for statewide, I think the biggest enemy of housing is speculation, and I would ask that the emergency proclamation specify that no homes built under emergency proclamation should ever be used for short-term rentals, and that if they are used for long-term rentals, that it shouldn't be above and beyond HUD rental guidelines in perpetuity. because what we're facing is emergency housing crisis, not an emergency speculation crisis. And so the other thing, similar to what the testifiers had been mentioning, is, you know, pre-approved plans for like 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms that, you know, that if we're in a crisis, a lot of the expense is in drafting plans and getting them stamped and all of that. So if we have just your basic models to help folks, that might be good. And I think that specific safeguards against speculation and private profiteering off of this emergency housing proclamation need to be included. You know, that these are meant to be shelter and not meant to be anything else ever in the future. Aina Nalu and other like Front Street apartments come to mind, where they do like a 50-year thing, and then next thing you know, it's a hotel or it's market rate even before the deadline. So it's like, you know, if we're continually losing that inventory, we only have a finite amount of land and resources. And so in terms of housing as a personal investment, there is shared equity models where, you know, you're investing it and you're making equity, but it's not based on per se like the land's value, because the land is priceless, and what we're looking for is shelter.
Right. I don't necessarily agree with all of what Member Paulton said, because I think that should come later. I think that, or if it's at the beginning, that there'll be several different models, at least 2, maybe 3. And the ones that would go into what she said, those types of homes would be in a community land trust. Because there are many homes that were market homes that shouldn't be now reduced to, you know, all these restrictions. It's not fair. So, you know, those that she's talking about, I think would fit better in a community land trust. My other concern in a question would be what happens to many of the homes that were burnt down were existing non-conforming uses. So normally under the code, when that house burns down, you don't get to have that same non-conforming use again. You have to conform to the code now. So I'm not sure how those would be handled, because some of those non-conforming homes were on smaller lots, which may not be permitted now, you know, with current code, the current code.
Okay.
So, you know, how do we handle those homes?
Okay.
And, you know, I would think that many people might opt not to buy again, not to build, because let's say their properties are too small and might be too expensive, that what other choice could we give them? You know, so.
Okay.
I think people should have a range of options. Thank you.
One of the things that I had agreed to earlier, I'm going to just say it, is that, and I'm listening to the conversation that September 27th, 28th, or whatever the date is going to be now held in Lahaina. And originally, my staff had said that if I would give up October 3rd date for NOHE or this committee, so that it could be held in Lahaina. So if we're not going to use that date for Lahaina anymore, I'm asking if the body would agree for it to come back to BFED in case we have things that we need to do, because, you know, we're hearing that, or we do know the mayor is asking the departments to have a 5% cutback, and there may be some needs for budget now. So if you would allow, if you're not going to use that date for a Lahaina meeting as it was presented to me, then I'm going to ask for the date back, but it's up to the body. The other thing is that one of the biggies that we have, not only in Lahaina, but everywhere else on the island or in the state actually is a conversion of the wastewater system, right? So a cesspool to septic conversion. So I wonder if this governor in his emergency proclamation, maybe now is too early for me not actually building, but take into consideration that the state take on the cost for that. We have a kind of unusual situation happening in West Maui, but it is a need for all the residents who now have cesspools, which is, I would imagine, the older homes in West Maui, for sure everything in Upcountry, which we also have homes that burnt. If there could be a consideration for the cesspool to septic conversion. And my last thing, and maybe it doesn't go into an EP, but for the state to consider or to think about is that to do all of this, I would like to request that the state consider providing extra funding for us on Maui, and for the places in the wildfire to be a priority that have wildfire devastation for housing funding, and for HHFDC maybe to take it on as a special project. So that's all.
In the presentation, it was stated that Hawaii has some of the most housing regulations. The EPROC then cites environmental, cultural, and historic protections, public participation and notice under Sunshine Law, collective bargaining as some of the laws that were suspended. Are we to deduce that those are the problems that the governor sees? If the governor sees Cmte as a problem, will he properly staff and resource the divisions so that they have the capacity to actually manage the workload? Otherwise, I'm left to assume that its continued staffing shortage is as designed to hold up project approval to upset people to the point of wanting it to be dissolved. My understanding from developers and individual builders is that the county is slow in issuing permits. Did the governor look to see if he can assist our county departments in enabling them to streamline permit review? Other holdups, specifically for temp housing right now, include sewage and water. Would the governor assist and build capacity within the Department of Health in exploring approving alternative technology for human waste disposal, such as compostable incinerator toilets, gray water use, etc.? And lastly, investment properties used for wealth building and having shelter and housing used for shelter cannot coexist. Housing used for wealth building will always supersede shelter for people, especially those in most need. How does the governor's EPROC, Emergency Proclamation, tackle that? Perhaps as Member Poulton described in her comments, or like owner-occupied or long-term rental use restrictions. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. If I can just follow up on the moratorium on evictions and rental increases. The last we heard was he was going to send it to the AG, the Attorney General. And what's the status and update? Because October is the end of the moratorium on evictions and rental increases. So will it be done before or after? Will it lapse? And that's kind of this status update on the moratorium on evictions and rental increases. Thank you so much.
When I was following up on a constituent's inquiry about using like tiny homes or those container homes, I was told by the administration that before that can be done, admin rules need to be promulgated. Now, in light that of the EP, would those admin rules still be would the admin rules in a way supersede the EP? Or under the EP, would there not be a need for admin rules? So can we have a clarification on that? Because I don't think any of those specialty homes can move forward under the EP unless we have that clarification. Okay, thank you.
Like if the emergency wildfire proclamation supersedes the emergency housing proclamation, and if guys are not getting direction from either the mayor's administration or the governor's administration and Title 19 is suspended and all that, and they go and they build whatever kind of house that works for them or they think that will work for others. And then either of the emergency proclamations runs out without getting extended, then what is the situation with those, whatever they are, tiny homes, trailer homes that no longer are conforming to what might have been conforming to the emergency proclamation at the time, but then what happens after any emergency proclamation runs out? Even if you changed zoning through, or like you didn't even consider zoning because right now no need, then what happens when the proclamation runs out?
Actually, to Member Paulton's point, so I don't know if this EP for housing for the state one deals with our county zoning laws, which is sometimes more restrictive than the state zoning laws. I couldn't CC anybody else on this email, but I did ask admin for some clarification on our own mayoral EP as it does suspend chapter 16 and 19. This is the conversation I was having with Ms. Ness earlier. So I still haven't received any clarifications, but my questions were, and I'll say it again, so hopefully I can get some clarification for everybody else, because this is a big deal and it's confusing for everybody. And if you've been through the building permit process, if you don't have a structure that's approved, it's difficult for insurance, it's difficult to get any other building permit. If you ever try to do anything through our system, you will be asked for an after-the-fact permit. And if you constructed something during the 60 days, as chapter 16 and chapter 19 were suspended, as you were allowed to do, then now what? Yeah. We cannot put our people in a situation that leads them to further confusion and further issues within our own system later down the road because we are not clarifying what's allowed and what's not allowed. So my questions were, if a BPA is not required, then what is the certification process? Again, if any, to ensure the safety, because again, we're using this to house people. This isn't a storage room for our tools and our lawnmower. This is to house our children. We need to ensure that it's safe. We need to ensure that when they come in for any building permit throughout our county system, we acknowledge that they built something in an emergency to house people and they shouldn't be penalized for that. And what happens if this EP, this mayoral EP, is rescinded in the middle of construction? Yeah. Can they continue to build? What happens then? And again, our county has our pictometry image. We can see what is happening and it's dated. It's not always terribly accurate, but we're gonna have to figure out what we're going to do with unpermitted, and I say this with quotes, unpermitted structures in the future. And again, I would just like some clarification for our own internal process. Since we are asking the state for clarification, our county needs to be accountable to ourselves as well and our people and provide them clarification so we know what we're doing to benefit ourselves for now and for the long run. Thank you.
Dovetailing into what he said was what the county currently does, if you are non-conforming, they'll have you sign a hold harmless agreement. So I would like to have assurances from the administration that wouldn't be the case because it prevents you from getting a conventional mortgage. You have to get a non-conforming loan, which is more expensive. And so if they're doing this to actually help the community, they shouldn't set us up for heartburn later.
Yeah.
The building community is not actually building the structures too. It can be career development for sustainability and regenerative practices through the trades, agriculture and everything for our youth. I was really impressed that we could encourage our youth to be part of the reconstruction and all, so that would be part of the encouragement and the healing and the growth moving forward.
Was in the last update of the building code, Director Molina was saying about the wind patterns and, while the Kaua'ula winds are legendary, plenty folks were saying that was the strongest winds they've seen in their lifetime. And so taking that into account and knowing that folks are building like these little homes and the trailer homes and things like that. And even in my own meeting with Public Works just now, what considerations are being made about like hurricane force winds in the construction of these houses in absence of all the regulations, whether it's the emergency wildfire or the housing, because that won't only affect the person living in that house, but should their stuff blow off into somebody else's house or somebody driving, it's a concern in terms of safety as well. Knowing what we know from what Director Molina told us about the building code updates that they do expect as a part of climate change, that wind patterns to get stronger and that there are updates. Is that being taken into effect as Chapter 19 is suspended and Chapter 16 and all the chapters?
As part of my proposal on a range of options for housing, I'd like to be considered managed retreat, that people may have the opportunity to move their property further away to safer ground.
Okay.
I mean, the county may consider buying a big parcel someplace else where they can move to. Okay, thank you.
And I hear what you're saying, because a lot of the Front Street apartments and homes over there are so close, and I thought that as we were talking about that, I think tomorrow's committee last time about the Celexa and having to move things. So I think that's going to have a big impact too.
I wanted to dovetail off of Member Cook's, and I think he was talking about local builders. And so how does the emergency proclamation prioritize our local builders and preventing disaster capitalism?
Yes.
And I wanted to echo two sentiments that was shared in testimony. One was regarding like just population explosion without the appropriate infrastructure. So if we're expediting housing, are we truly learning from what happened in West Maui? Like if there is a disaster up country, is the one way in and out sufficient for evacuation of the population up country, for example? And that, like, I think everyone has very, very eloquently stated how, like, this emergency proclamation seemed like it might have had good intentions, but it was not well thought out through all the way. And, just like the governor back in the mid-'80s awarded hundreds of homestead lots without any plan of actually getting people on those lots. And so perhaps it could be considered to just rescind or let this emergency proclamation expire until there's a better, well thought out plan. And that way everyone's not spinning their wheels and wasting our time on something that had possibly good intentions, but lots of problems associated. So if Governor Green could consider just doing away with this emergency proclamation, that would be wonderful. Mahalo.
Okay, and so I'm listening to all of your questions and your justifications and your reasoning. That to me, if you put all that together in a new proclamation, you got a great proclamation. But you got to know that when he did it, he didn't have a room full of people like us. So just wanted to say that. But it sounds good.
We're here, Chair. We've always been here.
I know.
In fact, he went and took away our approval power in the emergency proclamation. We've been here, we've always been here, and we're here, and we continue to be here for as resource people.
You're right. So we're going to continue to, but one of the things I want to put, I thought about, just as you were all talking about, how putting into one of my committee items, maybe a 7B would be an urging resolution. Just a blank resolution that says urging the governor, urging the mayor to, and we just fill it in however we feel like we need to do that, as just as a standing agenda item.
I wanted, by just listening to everyone's good suggestions, some belong to the county and not the governor's EP, right? And so I wonder if the staff could look at all the suggestions and separate those that are really county specific and send it to the mayor.
So based on what the members have said and the recommendation from member Sugimura, could we actually create an urging resolution to the mayor based upon our conversation today?
Yes, Chair. I don't see why that would not be a great idea to urge the mayor to take action on a separate.
Yes.
Yes, EP.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that considered legislative action? No.
No, we're not doing it today. No, but.
Or not today?
No, I just wanted to ask if we could do it, and I think maybe at the next housing committee, it could just have that introduced and then we can massage it a little bit to see. That's all, right? Because I'm hoping that in our conversations that we're going to be able to maybe, talk about the emergency proclamation in terms of how we can move our Maui housing efforts forward in our discussions today.
I believe Kainashiki is on the line.
I'm here. I also wanted to let you know that Mr. Paul Chang is also on the line and available to answer questions directly.
Okay, so I asked Kai to be a resource because I really liked what I was hearing from her, but I didn't write every word for word that she had said. So if you all would indulge me, I'd like to ask her if she could just kind of highlight some of the units, because I think you talked about, I remember you said there was 800 to begin with, and then an extra 200 with the phase 3, and then there would be another 200 units. So can you help?
For phase 1, it was 340 units.
240, Kai. Sorry. Phase 1.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, sorry. 240 for phase 1. Phase 2 was 350.
Yeah.
And phase 3 is 210. And with the new proposal, phase 1 stays the same, but instead of there being any market rentals, they would all be affordable for rent, 180, and 60 affordable for sale. And in phase 2, 568 rentals. And for phase 3, 210 rentals, but that could also double in density if there is funding for it and if that is desired.
Thank you, Chair. I just didn't catch the phase 2. Did you say phase 2 is 350, but it could be 560?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And planning has to plan. Department of Planning, Ann Core, and whoever she distributed to has to plan.
So clarifying, 350 could turn into 560 and 210 could turn into 420. It's double.
It's possible, yes. Yes.
And is there a breakdown of how many bedrooms?
Yeah, so phase 2 would have quite a bit of large units. I think they're like between 2 and 3 bedrooms is almost 50%. Like half and half, something like that. So 3 bedrooms are necessary. And when you get to a 3, there'll be 2 stories. And there will be a little attic that someone can use as a study, or something, a toy room or kids, whatever. So it's like almost like a 3.5, 4, but we'll call it 3 officially.
And just on what the trade-off would be, less retail space or less.
No, went up vertical. That's all. So it was all 1 story before, and now it'll be primarily 2-story. And also we will park underneath, so we save some land, and just go. It'll be more expensive, obviously, to build, no question. But it'll be a platform where you can park underneath and tuck it in and then go up.
You had indicated earlier the water and the wastewater and water, the utilities getting to the site. What kind of distance, and is there an estimate to that?
Okay, very good. Sir, the distance is only 1 mile for the wastewater, as on the same side of the highway as Pulilahua. It's just, there's only 2 neighbors. I mean, there's only 1 neighbor between me and the county wastewater treatment, the DHHL. And we already worked out the route the pipe has to go with them. They're very happy. And a formal approval, and it was given to me verbally on an emergency basis, but a written approval, access, use of the land and all that is coming. And you can confirm that with Stuart Matsunaga, who is the chief for DHHL engineering on the island. He personally called me and said it was approved. So we already had that background work done, you know, all the surveys, all of that. So yeah, 1 mile. And water is even closer. Water is a few hundred feet away, if not right there at the edge.
So in the EP, what part of the EP are you trying to use to be able to get your project to be approved or to move forward? And are there parts of that EP that are not conducive to moving your project forward?
No, I don't think that the emergency proclamation is playing a part in this project. It's already fully entitled. It's just some additional things need to be expedited, and some increase in density, and getting the county DWS approval to provide the project and the school site with water. So nothing, not utilizing the EP, just county processes.
So in your question to Ms. Nishiki and Mr. Chang regarding agenda item, state emergency proclamation relating to housing, it doesn't fall under that, but under the state housing efforts in Maui County, it falls under that item. Is that correct, Ms. Nishiki, Mr. Chang?
I believe so.
Well, yes. In regards to getting the live tech housing credit, that is the state.
And I think what Member Paulton had mentioned earlier in her discussion is that although I didn't have a discussion with Nani Medeiros regarding, you know, what were some of the projects that she was talking about, they were probably on the books and what she was going to try to move forward. I remember that Pulilahua was one, and we never got beyond that. So
I can understand staff's point of view is we're like on the line.
yeah, we were on the line.
Yeah, the lines are blurred at this point. But I do have a question. This project may fall primarily under the state's efforts and possibly EP, because it's quite possible that the mayor may restore our authority soon with regard to zoning. Mr. Chen, are you going from 800 units to 1,220 units? And how many of those 1,220 units are for sale? Quick answer before the staff scolds us.
Only 60 for sale. Only 60 for sale.
1,220?
Out of all of that, okay, the amount of affordable is entirely contingent on funding, right? Because affordable rentals make no economic sense whatsoever, because the people are paying 30% of their income. So to the extent the funding is available, we'll build as many as up to that 1,200 units that the county, you know, sees fit to support and provide. So
I wanted to just correct the record. The mayor cannot strip the council of any powers. We're equal but separate branches. but there are arguments against whether that is part of his authority or not. And we're trying to work together.
Yes.
And so that's being corrected now because that is not good precedent in moving forward because that is not legal. Mahalo,
Refresh
Chair.
my memory. Was he planning to bury the power lines on the project?
Yes, sir. All power lines will be underground within our phases. I can't control what's outside, of course, but once it gets in, yeah, it'll be underground. It'll have to be, I don't want anything remotely close to what happened.
What hinders you from moving forward?
Yes, ma'am. I need a county release on the water. I was answering Council Member Tom Cook earlier. I didn't get to finish. I just met with the county water department because the Army Corps is moving very fast to get going on the school. You guys will hear about it very shortly. And so the county has been working very hard as well. And they have provided us with a schematic of how to provide water to the site. And they practically have the water on the highway, so it's very convenient. So its answer is no distance at all, Council Member Cook. They're right, because we touch the highway and they're at the highway. So, but they said they found some old document of some original zoning thing that says we have to provide the water resources ourselves. So they want the council to lift that condition if the council sees fit so that we can get going on this, because otherwise we're just dancing around. The Army would request the water anyway, but I think the proper move is to remove some condition somewhere. He was reading something. He said he checked with county council, so you guys can figure that out. I don't really know which condition he was talking about, but I'm sure he's right. So if we can lift that, then and then the number two is to increase the density as you see fit. I'm perfectly willing to condition the increased density to affordable housing. In other words, like I said earlier, if there is no funding, then I will just go back to the small plan and do whatever I can do as time goes on. So, but if we increase the zoning, then it'll only be built if it's affordable rental. I want to be very clear that I want to treat the community in complete transparency.
Yeah, just a little bit ago, I wanted to establish with our legislative attorney under the Sunshine Law, the agenda item, state housing efforts in Maui County, description, under Rule 7B, which allows us to do presentations, the committee intends to receive an update from the representative of the Office of the Governor on the state housing effort in Maui County, one of which included Pulelehua. And so I just want to state for the record that what we're doing is permissible under Sunshine Law because this falls under the agenda item, which was properly noticed.
Yes, to the extent the project is discussing the state's efforts or is benefiting in some way from state funding to advance housing efforts in the county, then yes, I think it would be permissible under Sunshine Law.
Mahalo, Mr. Mitchell. Mahalo, Chair. And then I have a question for Ms. Nishiki, because in the last meeting, she testified that Pulelehua was applying at the end of August for $12 million available to the fund to contribute to the cost of infrastructure to expedite the project. I wanted to find out from her if she received any updates on that.
Yes. So, just recently, today, DHHC has told Pulelehua that they don't feel that the project qualifies for those funds. And so, it's very necessary for Mr. Cheng to provide additional expediting and additional units for the county to fund that. And, I know that we had testified that the infrastructure needs from the county would be approximately $50 million and where that money could come from. But, in the big picture of this whole thing, like to develop this whole project is almost $700 million. So, we need to put things in perspective, I think. And if this council and if the county wants housing for our people, we're going to have to make the investment.
And so I just wonder if we did no additional units, you are ready to go, right? So
If
we
you
just
did-
left it as
If
is.
if you did no additional units, then about 50% would be market rate. And we are going with the 60 units for sale affordable. And then right now with the interest rates that it is, the affordable rental would not be economic at all. The interest rates have gone from 4% to 7% plus. And that knocks everybody out, basically.
In order for you to proceed today without the additional units, you would need how much more money?
The 60 is okay. The for sale is okay because we have the grant, we'll sell it, and we'll get paid back from the sale proceeds, the balance of the cost, and that's okay, no problem there. The remaining 180 units is about 110 or 120 million. That would be the cost of the 180 units. That's what that will be. So we'll have to find a way to do that. And then now you go on to phase 2 and so on and so forth. I have some preliminary budget, but I'm so concerned about price gouging coming up and labor shortage problems. I've been talking to the unions recently, and they offered some help. I don't know what that is. I think they're supposed to send me some help very soon. I hope that they would be helpful. I said, listen, we don't need super high price help. I need most affordable help. So they got it, and hopefully that will be fair help. To understand this, 2 points I want to make. Affordable rental by itself doesn't make any sense. Never has, never will. It's very simple because that's why they're short, because they collect half the rent or a third of the rent. That's why. I mean, it's basically cannot stand on its own. So without your help and the state's help and the federal help, there's no chance to build any affordable. And that's current condition. Nobody's building affordable. Number 2 is, I think we can take an interesting thing that I found out last couple of days, and really like in the meetings where I had with the DOE and Army Corps and FEMA, because they're talking about putting the temporary campus on the property. You know how they're doing it? The FEMA is paying 90% of the cost. And the state is only paying 10%. Can you imagine? That is how they do it. In other words, okay, so give you the perspective. The annual amount of funding that the federal government gives to the state of Hawaii is $2.70 per Hawaiian resident. That doesn't even make 50 units for the whole state. 100 units if you're a magic person. You can imagine, right? You know how many people in the state of Hawaii? Multiply that by $2.76. This is a real number. You can check it. So there is never going to be affordable housing money from the federal government. And this particular situation we have here is the one time that we can ask for a big slug of specially designated federal money and housing vouchers that could solve at least as much problem as possible. You know, I'm just saying, it's just math. How can the county pay $700 million or $800 million or not, whatever? How can the state pay? No way. We know that. No matter how many hotel rooms you fill twice, 3 times in one day, you cannot do it. So that's why I think that we must urge, like in this proclamation to send to the state level, we have to work with the Senator Schatz and his team to really put that in there, these housing vouchers. Okay, why housing vouchers and why federal tax credit? They work in tandem together. You must have the two. Why? Well, if you have no rent, like, okay, everybody paying half the rent, well, there'll be no supply. Okay? If you have federal grant and no housing voucher, the people still cannot afford to rent because they lost their job, they lost their home, they lost all their equity. They don't even have a picture of their marriage left anymore. What in God's name, where are they going to have the money to buy anything or do anything? So the housing voucher, which is a stroke of a pen by HUD, they can issue the coupons, the vouchers, on a 20-year basis. They call it HAP, housing, HAP, it's happy, we'll call it whatever, HAP. They are using that for project financing in disaster zones because people ask the same question, well, who's going to come if I build it back? So they have this mechanism where the coupons are issued. Right now, if you go talk to housing, I think they have at the most 125 vouchers for the whole island. This is like that $2.76 business. It's a complete.
I think what is being said is the project can continue as was previously proposed without the asked subsidies. But if you want to have the project be 100% affordable versus a 50-50 market, then there would need to be the investment.
And I think that because of the current economy and the high interest rate environment, it will be stringed out over 10 years or longer to build out the whole project. Because the project was viable when it was 4%. It's not viable right now. And certainly with the burden of affordable rental on top. And the wells that we have drilled will be contributed to the county. So basically it's a swap of water.
Respond. So unfortunately, Mr. Cheng's company, his company, submitted an application, but for the wrong funding. So our grants management division recently put out a invitation to bid for fiscal year 25 and 26 human concerns funding for our social services. And an application was submitted by Mr. Cheng for that purpose. And that is not the housing function. So he was informed, I believe via email, that the application would not be considered because it was for the wrong program.
Okay, so if, I don't want to speak for Mr. Cheng, but if there's a way for them to reapply or for the right year, is there a path forward for them?
Member Johnson, it's not a matter of year, right? So it's actually a matter of the funding. So the department has not yet issued an RFP for affordable housing funds, and that would be the appropriate fund to which Mr. Cheng's application would be applied, not to our social services and human concerns.
Do you have a timeline when you're going to do a RFP for the affordable housing funds?
We do not, Member Johnson, because of the wildfire. We have held off on issuing that RFP, mainly because we weren't sure about how much money we would have to procure, and I think we were looking at actually issues such as Mr. Cheng's proposal about how best to use that fund in a way that could more quickly produce housing units that we know are going to be needed. So we haven't yet, there hasn't yet been a timeline established for the issuance of that RFP.
Okay, well, we can all agree we're in a complete emergency. Wouldn't this be that emergency that you're looking for to help with? I don't know. I'm confused with the idea that you're holding back to find out because of the emergency what to do with the money.
Well, Councilmember Johnson, in the larger picture, there's various groups that have been convening over the past few weeks to talk about housing recovery and planning for that. So we're looking at intermediate housing needs as well as long-term housing needs. And before making commitments to a procurement and making selections based on stuff that we didn't know, I thought, and my colleagues in the administration agreed, that it was more prudent to hold off on the procurement and wait until some of that information that was out there in terms of the planning, in terms of positioning housing and looking at inventory and seeing what could be done quickly, that we waited for a little while to get a better sense of where those efforts coalesce. So it was a thoughtful, we considered a lot of different factors before making the decision not to issue. And normally the RFP for our Affordable Housing Fund is done in September. So technically we are not late. It has been done around this time of the year for the past several years.
I mean, they're already building it, so if that's about as fast as it's gonna get, if there's a project that's already being built and these folks need homes now, I can't see the nexus that you're speaking of, that where it would be. But okay, I heard what your point was. Thank you, Director. I'm trying to, if ever there was a time, it would be now, is kind of my mentality. I don't know if you want to respond, but it's confusing to me.
For today, and we can certainly bring up the topic of Pulelehua again in the Housing Committee. What I'd like to do.
Our Lahaina folks need housing
Yes.
now, and we need to figure out like how can and not no can as quickly as possible.
I agree.
And I know that this is top of mind for you.
Yeah.
Pulelehua is one of the few, if not the only project that's like fully entitled, ready to be built now.
Right.
And we as government need to show how quickly we can move when there's urgency. Mahalo Chair.
When there's a will.
Absolutely.
Okay, in order to post in time, we need to have that meeting after the 26th. So rather than having that meeting only to, well, no legislative action, so only to discuss the items, we figured we just have it at a special council meeting where we can take action. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's only a reso.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're trying to expedite this as quickly as possible in terms of taking actual action.
Right. We, as you know, we can't require the administration to do anything unless, of course, you want to be impeached. But
I hope you're still there, Ms. Nishiki and Mr. Chang, that we're going to continue this and actually get action on your item on the 29th of this month. Is that correct? But I thought we had a great meeting nonetheless with all of our discussion. I think we accomplished a lot. I think we figured out how can when no can, and we all can on a whole. Okay, so I think we're going to defer these two items, and without objections, of course. And other than that, if there's...
No objection.
Thank you.